So very good evening to all of you, and very good evening to my online students as well. How are you guys doing? All good? So first of all, welcome to the session on economics. I know that it is a subject which is loved by all and feared by none. So I want to start this workshop with a very candid confession to all of you, and then we'll come to the point. So I know how this subject is perceived by a lot of students who start the preparation of their competitive exams like UPSC. Now, this is a very nostalgic moment for me. The reason being that if I go almost 1.5 decades back, looks like Stone Age, I know. So it reminds me of my days. I was not a student of economics. I was a science student, and I was very happy with my physics, chemistry, maths, and computer sciences. So economics happened by accident, and some accidents change your life. So it was an encounter which was not planned, which happened with the subject, and I developed a lot of interest in it, and finally changed the whole career track. Came to DU, Delhi School of Economics happened, and there I learned my economics. So it was followed by a great amount of learning. I call it as gap filling, which happened at IIM Lucknow. That helped me to fill all the gaps, which normally remains when you study a subject mostly theoretically. So it's so amazing to understand the business side of it as well, which the IIMs were highly equipped to handle and provide. So the very fact that I'm standing in front of you today to tell you more about economics, the credit goes to all those institutions, all those faculties, all the books, and the way they used to groom us in various institutions. And it largely impacts your understanding over a long period of time. So thanks to them, first of all, that I know a little bit of economics, which has made me capable to stand in front of you and speak about the subject, so as to say. And I must confess that every passing day, as I became an author, a teacher, each day that I spend with the subject, I tend to fall in love a little more with the subject than the previous day. So the love for the subject keeps on growing, and that motivates us to also pass on whatever little I know in the subject to you guys through these kind of programs. So I know that this is a very sort of precise program which will take you close to your UPSC dream, and every dream must be valued. So in this program, the first thing that we should know, what we are going to do in the economy module, is not just learn economy, because it's a very infinite kind of subject. Every subject is infinite beyond a point. There is no scope which will say that this is the end of knowledge. Knowledge keeps on growing, evolving. So what we have to do for the exam is, we have to define the contours, that in what direction we are going to take the subject and the learning, and in what method we are going to learn it, so as to make it suitable for the exam. So that is one thing which must be kept in mind during these kind of courses. So we will not just learn economics as a subject, but we will learn economics as a subject which is relevant for UPSC. That is the agenda. And that separates it from learning the subject without a particular path. So that is why we have a path to follow. So one or two things which I'll show you before we get deeper into the method of learning and the kind of lecturing that I'll provide you. So first I want to show you, where does economy stand in UPSC? We all know it, but still, we should be very precise in knowing our end goal and target. So look at this, please, carefully. So this is some data which I have compiled based on my understanding of UPSC pattern, where you can clearly see that these are the major subjects which are there. So for example, economy, polity, geography, environment, science, tech, history, culture, IR, and miscellaneous. So anything which does not fit particularly in a subject like schemes and all, some of the schemes or sports related news, I put in miscellaneous. Now, what you can see from here is, if you look at the pattern, since we have gathered here for the economy part, so it's very important to know what is happening in the economy. So see, starting from 2015, I could have taken 2013, 12 also, but more relevant is 14 onwards, which is 15, from 15 towards 2026. See what has happened in economics. It started with out of 100 questions, started with 18, then 25, 25, 24, 22, 23. This was a phase where literally 1/4 of the paper was economics. Now you come here and see all of a sudden there is a drop. But then whenever it drops to around 14 or 15, maybe because some other subject looked more important at that time, maybe new developments happened, and that we can clearly see polity. From 13, it became 18. So a lot of drop in economics, and then 19 was captured by polity. And you can see environment, geography from 10 to 14, and then it remained. So a lot of new subjects started to get a lot of importance later on. So you can see that all of a sudden there was a drop here in 14. But then again, you come back to 2022, it's back. So as usual. So 18, 17, and as I told you, some of the schemes which are there, some of the schemes I have counted, some of the schemes I have kept in miscellaneous. So 18, 17, 17, again it remained like this. All of a sudden jumped to 21, and this year back to 15. So in the worst performing year, economics as a subject gives normally 14 to 15. If it is very bad year. Now this bad figure for economy for other subjects is the best. So for other subjects, the best figure that happens is around 14 and 15. And for economy, the worst figure that happens is 14 and 15, which means you can easily expect that in a normal year, and when I take the average, look at the average, see this average? The average is 19.9 questions out of 100. So if you take average, it's 19.9. But I wanted to show you the worst and the best as well. Worst case scenario, you'll get 14, 15. Best case scenario, you might get up to, let's say, 25. And I remember if I go back in the year, for example, 2014, 13, and 12, there was a year where 35 questions were asked from economics. But we don't need to take that. So yes, there are 2 exceptional years where the number of questions have been just 15, but normally it is always above 20. And the average also is somewhere around 20. That's what I first thing which I wanted to show you. Now, we have come here for economy, I know, but I also want to show you 2 or 3 other things, because largely we are here for a class which will help us to qualify UPSC. So we are getting a new trend from here that also we should see as a passing reference. So you can clearly see, look at science and tech. What has happened to science tech? 13, 15, 18. See the trend. So earlier it used to be 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. This used to be the trend. Now it is going up. Now you can also see history. Normally history used to be 12, 12, 12. But here it used to be very good, significant, 20, 19, 18. Then it became 12, 12, 12. And now it's 21. Look at IR. So who would have thought that IR would become such an important part of UPSC syllabus in prelims? Mains, of course, it was there in GS Paper 2 all the time, but it was never very important from prelims perspective. Now it has become very important. So you can see, I'll show you some questions as well. So for example, see, it used to be roughly around 2, 0, 5, 6, 5, 8, 6, 12. A lot of it has been asked here. So now, if you look carefully, and by the way, in the geography part, agriculture wale questions are also included. If you see agriculture, that is also included in geography. That's why the number looks very high, 10. So if you look carefully here, 2, 3 things come out from this analysis. And you should never base your analysis based on one year, which is 2026, because it was an exceptional year. And in economics, since we are here for economics, you understand that you never take an abrupt year as a base year when there was something which was not normal, or some kind of shock happened or surprise happened. That year is not taken as a normal year for benchmark. So we cannot take 26 as the benchmark year, but it does give us some ideas. So if you take 26, 25, 24 as a benchmark year, 3 years combined, if you take this, then you will see that science and tech is very important, IR is very important, and economics is very important. These 3 subjects has emerged. History, yes, 1 year 21, but normally 12, 12, 12. So you will never see history falling to 0, 4, or 5. It will always have significance. But if I look at last 3 years, I can clearly see that economy, science tech, IR, and if I take the recent year, then I should include history. These come out to be very important subject. Now, how can I help you in your preparation of UPSC along with economics? So what I can do is, we can pick up this, which is economics part, which is very important. The second area which I normally do with my economics class is little bit of IR. For example, let's say global institutions like IMF, World Bank, ADB, AIIB, all these institutions, New Development Bank. So there are some institutions like WTO, etc. So there are a lot of IR related stuff that we do here, not typical IR, but if I feel there is a scope to bring little bit of IR in the class, we do it. For example, the European Union wala question which we got this year. Normally we do these kind of things in the class, just like that. So from here, you will see a lot of things coming in the economy part. But since we were dividing the subject, so I have kept it separate. But yes, in the economics class, what we do is wherever there is a scope, we integrate. Similarly, from geography, wherever there is a scope to integrate agriculture, we do. Because you know that there are some areas of economics which have direct bearing on agriculture, which are directly connected to agriculture. Like, for example, MSP. So those kind of programs, irrigation, Fasal Bima Yojana, crop insurance, these kind of things, they are highly correlated with economics. So what we do is from here also we bring a lot of things here. So what I have done is I have designed this course in such a way that I should not infringe upon other subjects because every subject requires specialty. But if it is connected to economics in some manner, we will take it up. That's the first thing that we do. So literally you are not preparing for 21 or 20 questions or 15 questions. You are preparing for much more because something from here and something from here also becomes a part of it. That's the first message. But then I want to ask you another thing. Suppose that we are studying labor law from economics perspective. All right? Because labor law question came in UPSC and we know that question has come. I'll show you the question today. So let me in fact show you the question so that we can have a very concrete example to discuss. So this question. See, this question came in 2024 UPSC mains. Let's read the question. Discuss the merits and demerits of labor codes in the context of labor market reforms in India. What has been the progress so far in this regard? This came in GS Paper 3. Now, let's read the question a little carefully. It says, discuss the merits and demerits, which means that we have to write two parts. One is merit, one is demerit. Guaranteed we have to write two parts. So in this question, if you write the introduction in the answer, first is introduction. After introduction, you will start the content. In the content, we already know that there is merit, there is demerit. So two contents. In the body part of the answer, there are two things now. Look at the third part. So it says merits and demerits of the 4 labor codes in the context of labor market reforms. That's the hidden part. So in our answer of this question in UPSC, we cannot start with merits and demerits of labor laws. That would be an absolutely incomplete and wrong thing to do. We have to start our answer with an introduction, basic, and then we have to discuss about labor market reforms. That what are labor market reforms? In that context, we have to say, because the question itself is saying in the context of labor market reform. So you have to say what is labor market reform? Then you have to connect it with labor codes. That one of the aspects of labor market reform is through acts. And there are a lot of acts which are inside the labor codes. Then you can talk about the merits and the demerits. So first introduction, then we have to talk about what is labor market reforms. Then we have to say to bring labor market reform, the government introduced codes. So labor market reform is the hidden part of this question. So which means that is also one part of the question. So 3 parts of the question. The first is merit, demerit, and the third part is, so this is first, this is second, this is third. And then it says, what has been the progress so far in this regard? That's the 4th part of the question. Progress means current affairs. And you have to write this through newspaper, through economic survey, and through budget, and through PIB. These are the content material that we have to select to write this kind of answer. So how many parts are there in the body of the answer? 4. Very dangerous. The reason being that the number of words are same, either 150 or 250. But the number of parts have increased, which means you cannot overspend time, energy, and expertise to delve upon any one part particularly. You have to do justice to all the parts. You cannot select a part. You cannot say that, hey, I know what are the merits of labor reform, so let me write it in one page. You can't. There's no scope because there are more parts. I'll show you the changing pattern of UPSC, because after this workshop, at least you should be knowing that what UPSC wants from us as of now in the current times. And number 2, through some examples, I'll show you that how you should approach the preparation actually. This will help. So the first thing I wanted to show you is that number of parts have increased. Number of words that UPSC wants you to write is same. Either 150, 250, but number of parts 4. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that in a 150-word answer, now they're asking 3 parts. Earlier, they used to ask 1 part. What is UPSC trying to do? UPSC is trying to achieve multiple objectives through one question. So through one question, they'll test your current affairs, the last part. Through this question, they'll test your opinion. What are the merits and the demerits? And through this question, they will also test whether your comprehension skills, whether your understanding level inside the exam is deep or not. Why? Because there is a hidden part also. So under stress, what happens is sometimes we tend to ignore the hidden part. So there it is tested. Because tomorrow when you become an officer, you'll have to read a lot of files, a lot of reports, a lot of judgments by Supreme Court, and then you have to frame policies for this country. And when government will send you humongous policy notes and tell you, please implement these policies for agriculture, for example, or foreign policy, they will send you who is a senior bureaucrat, one day you'll become senior, misses out on a few words or sentences which are very crucial in the report and then frames the policy, what will happen? The country will bear the price. So UPSC says that these are some of the qualities that should be tested in the exam, and that is why they frame questions like this. So hidden questions will definitely be there. So do you believe now that UPSC or writing answers for UPSC requires something more than simple knowledge related to facts and figures? It does. Because how you present the knowledge, how you interpret the question is also important. So that is another part. So if we come back, let me show you this. If you come back here, what I was trying to tell you is that these patterns that you see in the prelims and the way UPSC has been framing the mains question, now it shows us something. It shows that economics as a subject is still very relevant. Even in the changing times. I told you its minimum is 15, and I deliberately got this figure because I wanted to show you that how low it can go. Last time it went low was around 14, 15, this time also, but you know what will happen on an average. And then I wanted to show you that if you look at economics as a subject, how else you can actually learn this subject in such a way that you will get good marks in the exam. So I took this example of labor reforms because I wanted to show something. Like I told you that in the class, when we will study economics, we will also do a little bit of geography, we'll do a little bit of IR. Similarly, when we study economics, that labor reform wala question, now I want to ask you 1 or 2 things. So for example, if you get this question that discuss the merits and demerits of labor laws in India in the context of labor market reforms, and then explain the challenges, how will you write the introduction? In the introduction, if you start to write the economics part, that labor reforms are very crucial for the overall well-being of the labor, etc., not good. Why? This is not exam of Indian Economic Services. This is not an exam to select economic officers. This is an exam to select policymakers and bureaucrats, which means there is a reason that there is something called as GS1, GS2, GS3, and GS4. If you want to write a great answer on labor reforms, you cannot start your answer with economics. You have to start your answer with constitution. You have to start by saying that labor is a concurrent subject, which is there in Schedule 7 of the Constitution. And then you have to discuss which are the provisions of fundamental right and DPSP where the word labor and employment is mentioned. So you will have to discuss Article 21, you have to discuss Article 39. These articles must be mentioned, Article 41, Article 43. These you have to mention in your answer. In your introduction, you have to give a reference to it. Then there is Sustainable Development Goal, where there is one SDG which talks about promoting the work, providing work to people who want to work. So you have to take the help of SDG, you have to take the help of Constitution, and then you have to make a reference to labor laws. And then you have to justify that the very fact that Government of India is doing labor reforms is because it is enshrined in the Constitution, fundamental rights and DPSP, and India is also committed to Sustainable Development Goals. This should be your starting of the answer. Which means if you study economics or any subject for that matter, in a cocoon, in a separate manner, that this subject is isolated, UPSC will not appreciate it. Because then UPSC will ask you a question, or those who are evaluating your answer, they will start to wonder that I'm selecting a bureaucrat who is supposed to know Constitution, who is supposed to know what is the origin of the labor laws. So if you do not give them a glimpse of that, then the problem that will happen is, despite the fact that you will have a lot of knowledge about economics, but maybe the person who is evaluating will feel that the person is not very ready because the person is not able to integrate economy with polity, and that has to be done. Similarly, if you're writing an answer related to industries and you don't draw a map of India, That is not considered to be a good thing. You have to draw a map of India, and you have to say that why sugar industries are located in a particular part, why iron and steel industries in a particular part. So if you are studying subjects like economy, where you are doing industries or infrastructure, then it is extremely important that you take help of geography. Linking is very important. And why is linkage between various subjects important in an exam like UPSC? Because it's in your syllabus. And UPSC does not want that while writing GS2, we should only write GS2. UPSC wants that while writing GS2, if you can take one statement from economy part, just one sentence, and improve the answer, quality of the answer, you should do it. So when you write labor reform, don't write entire polity there, but at least in the introduction or conclusion, somewhere you should refer to it. This is one of the things. Now, let's come back. Now, guys, as I was showing you this for prelims, now let me show you something for mains. This is your mains. So if you look at UPSC mains from 2014 to 2025, right? 26 will happen. So if you look at 2025, you will see that economics and agriculture normally give 10 questions. This is the beauty, which means that out of 20 questions, there will be 20 questions in GS3. That's GS3. This whole thing is GS3. In GS3, how many parts are there? As you can see, there is economy, there is agriculture, there is science tech, environment, disaster management, and internal security. So if you look at these two parts, these two parts, out of 20 questions which comes in GS3, you will see that roughly 10 questions are from agriculture and economy. So what I prefer to do in the class is, we study economy and agriculture in such a way that there is a link or linkage which is established between the two subjects, so that whenever you are writing an answer related to pure economy also, if something from agriculture is required, we should be able to do. When we are writing agriculture related answer, if little bit of economics is required, we should be able to do that. So that is the reason that this thing which I'll teach you will have a lot of integration. It will have a lot of coverage across the subject. So when we are doing economy, example, so for example, let's say that today I am teaching you a topic called as microeconomics. In microeconomics, you understand we start the lecture with demand and supply, basics. But when I give you a diagram of demand and supply, what if I give you something interesting? This is demand and this is supply, basics of economics. It's from NCERT, by the way. So it's given in the NCERT, micro. So when you do demand and supply, what if I tell you that this diagram is used to study something really complicated, which people feel is complicated. For us, it will be simple, called as MSP. The whole concept of MSP can be taught from here. So what will be MSP? What is this diagram? I'll give a simple example to you. So for example, I am demanding one pen, and you are giving me one pen. You are the supplier, I am the demander. You are the seller. You sell, I buy. So I told you, can you give me one pen? You said, yes, take the pen. And then you asked me that, where is the payment? I said, what is the price? You told 12. I said, no, 12 is too high. I am ready to give 9. You said, no, 9 is too low. So you are quoting 12, you are the seller, I am the buyer, I am quoting 9. Now we start to haggle over it. We start to negotiate. And then finally you tell me that, no, 9 is too less. I said, chalo, maximum I can give you 10. You are asking 12, you also came down to 10 and we agree for 10. So what has happened? If I want to buy this pen, 10 rupees becomes the price at which I am ready to buy and you are ready to sell. So whenever there is a price which is agreed at which the buyer is ready to buy and the seller is ready to sell, that type of price brings stability in the market. So this type of price is called equilibrium price. It is also called normal market price, or it is also called as market clearing price. There is no other name of this. You have done all the name. That is microeconomics NCERT. So which means that if I say that 10 rupees is the price at which one pen has been bought and sold, then 10 rupees becomes the equilibrium price and one pen becomes the equilibrium quantity. Now let's replace this pen with 1 kg rice. So for example, let's say that I replace this with 1 kg rice. I want to buy 1 kg rice and you are the seller of the rice. And I asked you, what is the price? You said 12 rupees a kg. I said, no, I can give 9. And then we decided 10. So at 10 rupees, you gave me the rice and I was ready to buy the rice. So 10 rupees becomes the equilibrium price. 1 kg becomes the equilibrium quantity. Now government comes. And government says, hey, how much did you get? You are the seller. You are a farmer. So government came to you and asked you, hey, how much did you get? You said, government, I got 10 rupees. Government said, are you happy? You said, no. This guy, he came and he deliberately tried to suppress me. He became very aggressive. He said, I'll not give more than 10 rupees. We are farmers. We don't have cold storage. We don't have enough of warehouse in India. Where will we go? You understand the problem of the farmer. If farmer has very good cold storage and warehousing facilities, farmer will not be under pressure, so much pressure. But in India, we do not have sufficient amount of warehouses and cold storage, and all the states of India do not have equal amount of or distribution of warehouse and cold storage. So if you are a farmer, you have surplus food grain in this country. Farmers are hardworking. They have surplus food grain. So if I come to you, I am the buyer. I know you do not have warehouse and cold storage. I will pressurize you. And I will tell you, I need the rice at 10 rupees a kg, even if 10 is very low. So government says, my God, my farmers are under pressure. They are facing exploitation. Let's fix the price at 15 rupees. So what will the government do? Government of India is going to fix the price at 15 and say, bus, this is the price. Now, nobody can give a price below this. And if people are giving price below this, government says, farmer, no need to sell to public, you come to me. Food Corporation of India. That is your MSP. Concept of MSP done. So this is how, using a very simple framework, this is minimum support price. Now, if I want to ask you a question, let me see if you can answer or not. So if I ask you a simple question, MSP is fixed above equilibrium price or below equilibrium price? That's your answer. And what if I tell you that this question has been asked in UPSC Prelims? It has been already asked in UPSC Prelims. You just answered the question. So can a simple framework, can a simple diagram, demand, supply, help us to understand complicated things? 100% yes. Now I want to ask you a question. If I show you a news article, which I'll show you today, that inflation is rising a little bit. What is the meaning of inflation rising? Consumer price index has increased a little bit. So I'll tell you what has happened. So what has happened is, earlier suppose I had 10 rupees in hand. How many pence would I demand? 1. Now what has happened? The loans are easily available in the market. People are getting loan from the bank because rate of interest is low, repo rate is low. So now what is happening is extra cash. I have taken loan. Earlier I had 10 rupees, now I have 110 rupees. The moment I have this, what will be my urge? What will be my tendency to stay at home or to jump in the market and demand new goods and services? Jump. So I'm jumping in the market all the time, whole day with this cash. And I'm telling everyone, hey, I want mobile phone, I want laptop, I want new house, I want clothes, this, that. But you understand that there is global problem. Supply chain disruption is happening because of Russia, Ukraine, Iran, US. Every country is entangled with every other country. And the supply chain has been really broken, and there is a lot of problem in the supply related to specific items. We see Apple has increased the price, and other companies are also willing to increase the price of their electronic items, which is true. So now what is happening is, because supply chain is not very smooth these days because of domestic and global factors, if people have a lot of cash, what will people do? People will have an urge or tendency to jump in the market and say, I need this, that, etc. So what will happen because of this? This is called inflation. Because now suppose there is 1 pen in the market. Earlier I had 10 rupees, I used to buy 1 pen. Now I have 110 rupees. How many pens will I demand? 11 pens. 10 rupees mein 1 pen. I have 100 rupees. I'll demand 10 more. So this 10 rupees, 1 pen, 100 rupees, 10 pens. I will demand 11 pens. But how many pens are there? 1. So what will the seller of the pen do? Increase the price. That's called inflation. In a very crude manner. Example, inflation. So now RBI is watching this. That okay, this guy is asking for more pens when pen is not there. And then RBI tries to find out how did this guy got money. So then RBI gets to know that I went to SBI, and to SBI I told that I need consumer loan. And SBI gave me consumer loan. What will RBI tell SBI now? RBI will tell SBI, reduce the consumer loan that you are giving. And what will happen now? This earlier, how much of loan was SBI giving? Let's say 10 crore rupees every month to people. Now RBI will say, no, don't give 10 crore, give only 3 crore loan. This line will be drawn. And they will say, reduce it. So what is this called? This is called a credit rationing. You have put a limit to the credit which banks can give to the consumer. What am I trying to tell you? Why am I using all these examples? I'm trying to tell you using a very simple diagram like demand and supply. Half of economics can be learned if you know how to use it. And to use it, you need to study current affairs, for example, newspaper. And you just need to bring those news items in the class. We will take a framework, We'll complete that framework here. So technicality is not compromised because we are using the right term, for example, MSP, for example, credit rationing, for example, equilibrium price. So technicalities are not being compromised, yet we are simplifying things so that it's easy for us to digest and understand. But imagine that you are learning all these things without a diagram. Somebody comes in front of you and tells you minimum support price, MSP is the price which is pre-decided before the sowing of the agricultural crop, but it is guaranteed by the government of India, not in terms of legal guarantee, but a price assurance which the farmers expect to get after the production of the crop. Thank you so much. Literature was good. Where is the concept? Literature is good. Where is the concept? Because UPSC will not ask me only this. This can be asked. But UPSC will ask me that what is the relationship between equilibrium price and MSP? Or UPSC will tell me that MSP is always greater than market price. My God, how do I know? Nobody told me this. So to know these answers and to provide these answers in the exam, this type of framework is important. So what happens, Bacho, I do not feel that economics is not taught well elsewhere, etc. That's not the case. The thing is, I always believe I have been lucky in this sense that I was not an economics student, as I told you in my 12th class and all. But later on, when I started to study economics, it worked in my favor because since I was not from the commerce background, I had to put a lot of focus on reading a lot of literature. I read a lot of books, literature, used to go to a lot of faculties to ask them explanations and all. So over a period of time, in the hindsight, when I look, it helped because I could develop my own ways as a non-economics student to crack those difficult concepts using these frameworks. Had I been studying all these things, they would have looked very easy to me. Yes, this is, everybody should know this. But now when somebody comes and says, I don't know what is demand, I totally correlate with that. I say, yes, there was a time when I didn't know that. So now the best part of learning economics in this way is that whenever something happens in the country, like rupee's value went down, for example, or let's say that now inflation is rising, or government of India changed something called as labor laws or Vajiram method of GDP, etc. Since I have this habit of using the core ideas of economics in connecting with newspaper, it becomes little easy. It becomes easy for us. So we are going to use this formula. We will start our lecture in such a way that we will assume that we are starting from absolute basic, and then we will take each step at a time and slowly we'll develop the expertise in the subject. That is first point I want to talk about. Let me come to the second part. Here, Echo, see. This is something which will interest you, I know. So this program is not for prelims. This program is for prelims and mains, for both. So let me show you the mains wala part. So let's read this. This is UPSC's notification, by the way, official notification. So let's read what is there in the official notification. We are going to get some new points from there. So let's read what is there. It says, see, part B, main exam. The main examination is intended to assess the overall intellectual trait. Wow. That's UPSC. That's official language of UPSC. Yeah? It's notification of UPSC. It says intellectual traits and depth, okay, of understanding of candidates rather than, so they are saying that we will not merely test the range of information and memory. So UPSC says, I do not only need facts. I need facts and I need their analysis. And I need to know that what message is the fact telling me? If the poverty of India has declined to 2.3%, what is the meaning? What is 2.3%? How do you interpret 2.3%? So that is what it wants to say, which means facts must be read, but the story behind the fact is important. So what does UPSC say? This word is important. Intellectual trait and depth. And what is intellectual trait? Logical arguments that you put forward in or against a point. So if you can argue logically, that is called intellect. So you use logic, you use basic ideas, you use your wisdom to argue about a point. That is intellectual trait. So intellectual trait and depth. Isko padhte, let us read it. It says the nature and standard of question in the general studies paper 2, 3, 4, 5, GS3 is a part of it, will be such that well-educated person right? No definition of what is well educated, because this word is very dangerous. Well educated person will be able to answer them without any specialized study. So if somebody is you know, preparing economics optional, are they supposed to use optional level language in the GS paper? No, because it is saying that we do not want specialized knowledge of anything. If you know basic ideas in depth and you can argue logically, that is what we want in the GS papers. So the difference between the GS economy module and optional will be that whatever we do in the economy module, we'll do it to the depth which is required by UPSC, but we will stay a little away from optional. Whenever we are going towards that, I will tell you that we need to stop, because we do not need to overreach. That will create problems. So if you have economics optional as a subject and you are coming to programs like this, instead of more of learning, you will also have to do learning plus unlearning. You will have to remove a lot of things from your answer, because you cannot write highly technical things in your GS paper 3. So because it's GS, it's not optional. Now let's see this. What does it say? Without any specialized study, the questions will be such as to test the candidate's general awareness of a variety of subject. Okay, coverage. Coverage has to be horizontally very huge. So it is saying I need depth also. So depth of understanding is also required. Coverage also has to be good. So it is clearly saying variety of subjects which will have relevance for career in civil services. So which topics will be picked up for examination questions? Those topics which are varied in nature, lot of variety, but they should be relevant for civil services. They should not be ABC, which is not even connected to bureaucracy or policy making. They will not ask you. They are saying it will be connected somewhere as per UPSC's notification. Then UPSC said the questions are likely to test the candidate's basic understanding. So can we ignore things like demand and supply? No. Can we ignore what is the meaning of price? No. Because they will test the basic understanding. And it says understanding of all relevant issues and ability to analyze. You see, the word analyze is coming multiple times. Analyze and take view on conflicting socio-economic issues. So they will ask you, for example, so let me take an example from GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, I have seen UPSC questions which have asked that reservation is also against those who are not covered under it. So UPSC asked a question that reservation is meant to empower certain section, but it acts against those who have not been covered under it. Do you agree? And then UPSC said that based on this logic, should reservation be eliminated? So now there are conflicting opinions. For some section of the society, you can argue reservation is important in some form. For other sections who do not require it, you can say that it is not required. But maybe your friend will take a completely different stand, which means different people, different opinion, and every opinion that you are writing will be based on some thinker or some framework or some case study or example. And you can quote hundreds of examples. UPSC says, I will ask these type of questions, where there are conflicting opinions, but you need to justify your answer. So what is the best way to write these answers? This is what we will learn in the class. For example, they will ask you that if you compare VBG Ramji and Manrega, so VBG Ramji has diluted Manrega, they will make the statement and they will say, do you agree? So conflicting opinion is there. So some people might agree, some might disagree. But I suggest that instead of writing personal biases in this kind of answer, we should write logical arguments based on some established result or some research. If somebody has already done it, we should take use of it. For example, let's say Niti Aayog research or economic survey or somebody who is an expert in the subject. If they have done some research, we should take points from there. So there is a way to handle this question. UPSC clearly says, I will ask questions based on topics which have conflicting opinions. So that is also very sort of important for us. Then it says view on conflicting socio-economic objective, goal and demand. The candidate must give, see, now they are saying that what is expected from the candidate. So they want you to give three kind of things. The first thing they are saying that make sure that you give relevant things. Second, they are saying that you are giving relevant things, but it should be meaningful for us. The evaluator who is evaluating should find some meaning. And then they are saying that there is a word limit. There is a space limit. Respect that. Do not overwrite. Do not keep writing whatever you feel like. So be careful. Within that framework only in which you have been asked to write, you should write. So why are we doing this? Acha, niche na, this paragraph talks about optional, so I'm not getting into that because today we have come here for GS paper. Why did I bring it? Because I wanted to show you that whenever you prepare for any subject like GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4 from GS perspective, you should refer to this. And when you read a particular news item or new development which has happened, don't go only by facts. Also go by what is happening behind the fact. Behind the fact, stories are very important. We'll see some examples today so as to understand these kind of things. So in the class, see, that is the reason that our class will be slightly exhaustive. Because if you take shortcuts, the problem in the shortcut will be, this will be gone. This is your opportunity when you are trusting people like us, your faculties, to train you in a subject. Then you almost give your 100% time, energy, and everything to us. Now, if we don't develop the intellectual trait and depth related to UPSC's demand in the class, where are we going to develop it then? And you understand, because of these things, and plus UPSC is saying that you should be analytical in nature, and UPSC says horizontal coverage should be very good. If we do not take care of these things in the class, then I do not think that outside class you will have the time or energy to do it. So now I feel that that is one of the reasons that we will not cut short on the lectures in our module. Whatever lectures are required, whatever is the demand based on the current trend of UPSC, we have to prepare for that. Shortcuts should be avoided. Because imagine that, I'll give an example. Imagine that today you studied for 2 hours. Now, let's say tomorrow you feel that 2 hours is too much, and you cut short 15 minutes, and you told that, sir, let us wrap up the class, not in 2 hours, but 1 hour 45 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes save. Now, 15 minutes over a period of 3-4 months, you are saving every day. Time saved, but whenever you save time, 2 things are also happening. That 15-minute content which is happening is gone, which means you are compromising that content every day for next 4 months in every lecture. So now what will happen is, somewhere it will affect your coverage, quality, and understanding. Or it will affect the interactive nature of the class that should be designed. That is gone. So we have to be very careful in all these things, because the subject is very different. This subject does not have a well-defined boundary. For example, I'll give you a surprise thing. For example, from internal security in GS paper 3, how many questions are asked? 3 to 4. Subject is defined. From agriculture also 3 to 4 questions are asked. But do you believe that the energy that is required for internal security and agriculture will be same? Geography and agriculture? No. Agriculture and geography will require more energy from you, because that is more technical. The internal security part will have a lot of facts, a lot of figures. But geography will have technicalities as well. Agriculture will have technicalities also. So that is the reason that the effort required for the same number of questions will be different. So economics is a subject which requires a lot of speaking, a lot of writing, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding. That is the reason that this has to be learned in an exhaustive manner. And I believe that it should be learned within the exam parameters. That is important. That's why I showed you that syllabus has to be followed. Abhi, next question is, what is the syllabus? Because these things are fine, but what is the syllabus? Here you go, see. As per UPSC, this is the syllabus. That's the syllabus. So syllabus says, for example, the economy of India, planning related issues, government budgeting, inclusive growth, liberalization, infrastructure, investment models, and this is agriculture. So do you believe that this represents the entire syllabus of UPSC? No. We very well know that this has to be prepared, but this also has to be supplemented with something new which UPSC is asking. So official syllabus is this much only. Now, let's go to the unofficial syllabus, which we will do in the class. This is the syllabus. I have given that in your handout, by the way. This is something which we are going to study. So look carefully at the board. This is what I'll do in the class with you. I'll show some examples to you. So for example, see, bacho, the first thing that we are going to do in the class is micro and macro. Micro and macro, we will refer to a lot of NCRTs, but NCRTs in my style, like the one I showed you. For example, if we only do NCRTs, then I'll give you demand supply ka diagram, class over. That's not how we should study NCRT. The moment I give you demand supply diagram, then it is my duty to tell you how it is connected to real life, like MSP, credit rationing, what is floor price, what is floor wage. Are you aware that under VBG Ramji or new labor codes, not VBG Ramji, but under new labor code, which is also applicable under VBG Ramji, there are 2 types of wages that have come in India now. One is called floor wage and one is called minimum wage. So to understand floor and minimum wage, one has to understand demand and supply. That is the diagram which gives you the meaning of floor wage and minimum wage also. So whenever we are doing micro in the class, we must connect micro with other areas which is happening around us in terms of policies to see, acha, that is the application. If we don't do that, then learning demand and supply is absolutely useless. So that is why I told you that we will do micro and macro, but we will not do only micro and macro. If we start micro and macro, we will supplement it with new developments like current affairs and other areas. We'll connect it and we'll say, acha, okay, this is how it is used. So that is the first topic that we are going to do. Second is national income aggregates. This is your most favorite area, I know. How to calculate GDP, GNP, NNP, NDP, etc. So this is the area which I have a certain way of teaching this. So what I do is I have 2-3 handouts related to it, and all the handouts are designed full of graphs or let's say tables and all those things, boxes. We come in the class. I'll give a copy to online and offline. I'll tell you some background, etc. And then we learn this chapter in such a way as if you and I are designing a new formula of GDP. This is how we will learn it. We will do it as if we are trying to innovate or find out how should a country design GDP, GNP, etc. So we'll take each component and we will argue over it. We'll discuss over it. Should we put, should we not? What happens if we put, what happens if we don't put? And at the end of 2.5 to 3 hours, you will see this session will be slightly more engaging. You will see, because a lot of interaction will be there. I'll ask you a lot of questions. You can ask me a lot of questions. And then we fill those pages. And then at the end of the session, you will see that you have understood GDP so well. And you will be able to apply it anywhere, be it exam, be it real life. You can play with those concepts. But it has to be learned in interactive manner. So see, I believe, bacho, monologue is something which we will not do in the class. If I have to cover the same content through monologue or give a recorded video, it can be done in 1 hour. But same concept in the class takes more than 2 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. The reason being that when you interact, when I make you speak, when I make you write, when I make you write answers in the class, when I ask you to solve MCQs in the class, it all adds to time. And that time that you are spending, there are 2 ways. Either you make the class short or you make the class engaging and you don't have to study so much at home. So if you cut short the class time, then the homework will be very high and you will have to work a lot at home. So I have designed this course in such a way that I don't believe in giving homeworks at all. I don't think homework should be given. I think that everything should be studied in the class itself. So that is why interaction will be there, question, answer, doubt solving, learning, you speaking, I speaking, all these things should happen in the same class. And over a period of time, you will see that when you go back home, you would not require to make any notes out of notes. This notes that you make in the class is final. This is how we save time at home. So if the course is of 2 months duration, self-study will be 3 more months at home. But if the course is 3 to 4 months, you do not need to do that much amount of self-study at home because everything will be taken care here. So my idea is that we'll do everything in the class. That's what we'll do. And the idea is to make it more interactive because that is how I have learned the subject and that is how UPSC is demanding it. And I believe that whatever I can contribute, I should. Why to hold back? So, bacho, this is the syllabus, national income aggregates, and now growth and development. Why there is a star? Because I wanted to show you that inside growth and development, what all will I do? These are examples, by the way. So this is not the complete thing. Complete thing will be even higher than this. So for example, in growth and development, see, meaning, poverty inequality, inclusive growth, demography, employment, skill, care economy, labor reforms, everything is a part of growth and development. So that is another. And then sectors of the economy, agriculture, industry and services. These were the 4 sectors. Now there is a 5th sector also. What is the 3 sectors? Agriculture, industry and services. There is a 4th sector which is called digital economy. So digital sector has also been included now. So we have to study that. Orange economy, digital sector, DPI. So that is also called as a new sector now. Since there is a new sector, there are people who are working in the new sector. Hence, labor reforms had to be designed in such a way to incorporate not only agriculture, industry and service, but also digital economy. For example, gig workers. They are working for Zomato and Swiggy. But in the previous labor laws, there was no mention of digital economy. So there was nothing related to gig workers. But under the new labor laws, the government of India is saying that, oh, we are going for new labor laws. So there is a new sector in the economy. Hence, the gig economy should be defined there. or all the people who are working in digital economy should be covered under labor laws, and we are covering that. So that is why we will study these 4 sectors. Now, planning in India, public finance and resource mobilization, as you can see, this topic is generally a topic which requires a lot of understanding. What is this topic? Fiscal policy, for example, budget deficits, public expenditure, debt management, debt reforms, basics of taxation, direct and indirect taxes, fiscal federalism, finance commission, new finance commission report and comparison with the old finance commission, all these things, GST, direct taxes, indirect taxes, the new direct tax bill or act, income tax act 2025, all these things will be covered here. This is the topic which is, according to my opinion, very less understood. In fact, I want to share something related to this topic, which my previous module students and those who are with me in my other programs like current affairs, they already know it. So let me tell you what is that thing. This is not to boast about anything, but this is just to tell you that if you do exhaustive coverage, a lot of things that happen inside the exam will not shock you. So example, I remember that 2 years back in this classroom only, and there is a video also related to that posted on the YouTube of Vajiram. 2 years back, we were doing budget and survey in the class. And we started to do a numerical. And we did like 4 or 5 numericals in the class. In the module also, we did the same numericals in the budget and survey part. Now what happened is UPSC prelims happened, and 3 of the numericals that we did, 4 numericals we did in the class. Out of that, I think we got all the 3 numericals that were there in the exam. So they were a reflection of the classroom only. Yes, current affairs included, only numbers changed. So for example, in the classroom, we took, let's say, the revenue of the government as 45,000 crore. But in the exam, they asked 30,000 crore. That's it. But calculation and formula were same. So I remember what was happening was when we were doing these things in the class, so some of the students were apprehensive when they told that, is there a need to do numerical for UPSC? I mean, we should avoid it. So I remember that I told that, let's trust the process, continue. We continued. Students trusted. And we studied, and finally at the end, when the exam happened, we got those numericals in the exam. It was the first time numericals were asked. My point is simple, and I never made a claim video which says these many questions from this class. That I believe that is the worst thing to do, because if I'll spend 5 hours in telling what came from the class, instead of that in 5 hours, I can read 5 newspapers and bring more points to you. So this type of video I will not do. But yes, occasionally, just to give you that confidence, that whatever we do in the class goes 2 or 3 steps ahead of what you would have imagined. The reason being that UPSC cannot be predicted, and we should make sure that we are in the game all the time. So that is why a few innovative things and extra things must be done in the class. At that time, it will look very extra to you, that what is the need. But when UPSC will happen and your name will be there in the PDF, and when you look back, you will realize that there was a need. So these things happen in life. It's fine, totally fine. But it is our duty to make sure that we guide you in the right direction and tell you what to do, what not to do. So in that process, there will be extra things, which world will call extra, but I feel it is required, so we'll do all those things. And it is there in my mind, what are the things. Today I have got 2-3 samples to show you that what is exactly the thing I'm talking about. One was numerical. So we do numericals in the class. That is one. So this is your area, which we will do public finance, then subsidies and freebies. So subsidies I normally do in the class as a separate topic. This time I'm also including in the module freebies. So I will do a lot of reports that have been released by the government and CAG related to state government, center, etc. So we will have a debate related to subsidies and freebies where I'll give you some write-up, because these questions are asked in UPSC. It will help you in GS paper 2 also, 3 also. Now money banking. In money and banking, bacho, there are 3 parts. One is money. What is money demand? What is money supply? What are the different types of currency, digital currency, all these things. So e-rupee, all these things are a part of money. Then we will do banking. So for example, let's say I ask you a simple question that suppose this is a festival season. During the festival season, will the credit creation by the bank or money supply in the economy go up or go down? Now, these are the kind of things that we will examine in banking. So here we will examine that how people's behavior decides how much money will be available in the economy. How the global system and the domestic situation will decide how much currency will be printed. These kind of things we will do in the banking part. and then fintech. Fintech is important. You would have seen this year that a lot of questions were asked related to the application of core areas of science and economics. For example, you would have seen that blockchain is a completely science and tech related topic. Economics has directly no connection with that. In economics, we use blockchain to design cryptos, or bitcoins is an example, to design cryptos. But blockchain is a science related concept, which is also taught in Vajiram by the science faculties. So this year, what I'm thinking is I'll integrate those areas which are related to science, but it also has an implication over economics. So what we can do is, that is called as fintech. So where technology and integration of finance will happen. So for example, let's say we are talking about UPI. We're talking about fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens. We're talking about cryptocurrencies, CBDC, all these things, digital rupee, e-rupee. So when you talk about these things, it is direct application of science and economics. That is called as fintech. So we will do fintech in the class by integrating both technology part and economics part. This is something which I want to do. Next is financial market. Financial market mein, this is one of my favorites. The reason being, I have spent a big part of my career in learning finance through some of the amazing faculties. So this I will teach you with a lot of heart and soul because I have practiced it. I still do. So I want to teach it to the best of my capability, so that 4 or 5 questions which are asked in the exam from finance, which is money market and capital market, you should be a pro in that. So the way I teach finance will be first academic, whatever is required from UPSC, pure pen and paper kind of thing. Then I will teach you a few things related to trading. Why? Because I have seen in last 4 years, 3 questions have been asked related to trading. So I'll teach you a little bit of trading, because UPSC expects that you should know basic ideas called as financial literacy. So for example, concepts like ETF, alpha, beta, all these things we'll study in the class. Then there is something called as, in finance itself, what is the connection between banking and finance? So they are highly connected. So they say that whenever in US bond yield changes, in India repo rate will change. Why? These are the kind of things that we have to do in UPSC. These are called as conceptual framework related things in integration of money, banking, and finance. So we'll do all these things in the class. So capital market, money market, basic concepts of trading. This is my plan for financial market. और आप देखोगे ना, if you see financial market, this is how the topic looks like. Money market, capital market. In capital market, we'll do debt. In capital market, we'll do equity, and then we'll do advance. This advance part, we will do derivatives. Things like derivatives, alpha, beta, and all these things. And a new type of mutual funds which are there currently. All those things we'll do in the class in this advanced part. And देखो, this is the banking wala part. In banking, what are we going to do? Banking, money, demand, supply, different type of interest rates in India. So whenever somebody says, rates in India have increased, which rate? Yeah, that's the first thing that strikes. So which rate is this person talking about? Savings rate, fixed deposit rate, repo rate, bank yield, zero coupon bond ka return rate, MCLR. What are you talking? Bank rate? Which rate are you talking? This, refinancing rate. We have no idea which rate is being talked about. So here we will say that, we will see in the class itself that when somebody says rate, which rate? In 1 second, we should be able to answer that question. So this is something which we'll do. Then monetary policy and its transmission, very important. Monetary policy and transmission is very important. Then you have banking sector and reforms, NBFCs, NPA, Basel norms, financial inclusion, gold schemes. We'll do gold schemes also, and then fintech, as I told you. So these are the things that I'm planning to do in the banking part. And then you have black money. You understand that Government of India promised us that black money will be eliminated. But you also understand, after watching Dhurandhar, that few other things also happened in between. You also understand through newspapers that everything in terms of black money has not been stopped. So what is exactly happening with black money? Where did the black money go? Or is it still there? Is it multiplying? Is it affecting us negatively, positively? Which government agencies are working towards controlling it? How far has the government succeeded? What is the connection between black money and double tax avoidance agreement? What is round tripping? What is treaty shopping? And all these things are very important. What is base erosion and profit shifting? These are the kind of things that we are going to study here. So when we study black money, Yes, money laundering. We will try to establish the interlinkage between capital market, banking, taxation policy, foreign policy, and black money. These are the things that we have to study. So that is why I've kept the black money here. And then open economy and international economy. What is open economy? Open economy is balance of payments, your favorite chapter. So balance of payment, exchange rate, your supremely favorite chapter. Had a nominal exchange rate, real exchange rate, right? Near and rear, all those. I know you love that concept. So normally I take a dedicated lecture on these real and nominal exchange rate. It goes on for at least 2 hours. But after the 2 hours, you will never have a doubt in real and nominal exchange rate, because this is something which has to be understood really well. It will help you not only now, but when you become an officer as well, when government will call you and tell you, beta, be the governor of RBI. But before that, please answer some question related to exchange rate. You will say, come government, I'll give you a 2-hour lecture. Right, so that should be your confidence. Then we have to do trade, globalization, and deglobalization. Very important. So I do trade very exhaustively, because this is one of my research areas where I have written some research papers. So it really interests me. So I teach these because I'll teach you some of the things which I have developed over a period of time. So trade, globalization, deglobalization, all the theories related to trade, all the models of trade, preferential trade agreement, free trade agreement, CESA, SEPA, economic union, everything, like early harvest deal, so many things. Plus what happened in the recent times in the new trade deals, why India has not been able to take advantage of the free trade agreement, or has India been able to take advantage? In the new trade deal, what is so new which was not there in the previous deal? So we'll compare the previous deal and the new deal. Why India opted out of RCEP? India could have become a part of RCEP, but India opted out. India said, I don't want to be a part of the group which has ASEAN, China, and Australia and New Zealand. I want to create another group. Why? These are the things that we are going to study in the class, which means a lot of IR will also come in the class. And without IR, economics cannot be complete. So this is something which we'll study. And after that, we will study international institutions, as I told you. And then we have inflation. Inflation is again something which has just happened, changed of inflation formula, and new things have been declared. Investment and related models. This I can assure you that this coverage of investment models, etc., will be very exhaustive, because you know what is so special about investment model? It includes entire macro finance, etc., is included inside that. And to be able to control this topic called as investment model, one needs to be very good in macro and finance. That is why I'll teach this little later, after I have trained you in macro and I have trained you in finance. Then I will teach you this investment model. But this is again one of my favorites. So then infrastructure. So infrastructure is also the topic which I teach in Vajiram GS classes. So infrastructure will be similar, because I will not teach different things in different places. So infrastructure I teach very exhaustively everywhere, wherever I teach, same set of things I teach. And thankfully, by God's grace, so far there has not been any question in UPSC which we have not covered. I can tell you one more thing, not to flaunt, as I told you. If I had to flaunt, I'll make video. So I have not done anything like that. But just to give you confidence, Sagarmala, which came this year. Anybody who has done GS with me knows that in the class, even if you are half asleep while I'm doing Sagarmala, still I do it. And I tell you that we'll do Sagarmala, it can come in the exam. I've been doing it since last 4-5 years. And finally, this year Sagarmala came. Every year I used to tell, this year we'll get it. Finally, this year we got it. So same thing happened last year in National Rail Plan. I used to teach it in all batches of GSN module. And finally, we got that in the exam last year. So that's why I told you that, thankfully, by God's grace, and I wish that universe is with us. Whatever question comes in infrastructure in UPSC has always been from what we have learned in the class. 3 chapters I can guarantee you. It has never gone out of our hand, ever, with full 100% track record. Inflation, it has never gone out of our coverage. Number 2 is capital market. It has never gone out. Inflation, it has never gone out. And let me tell you this also with a lot of pride and happiness, that I remember that we were doing trade when this new trade deal was signed by India and trade war happened because of US. We did, I think, 4 questions in the class. 2 questions out of 4 came in UPSC mains related to that trade. So, which means that a lot of current affairs is being asked. And since we put a lot of emphasis on current affairs, We are blessed to get those questions in the exam. Simple. We are not God. We don't know everything. But if our intentions are right, that okay, we will do newspaper in the class, we will do a good coverage, it comes in the exam. Simple. And anybody who does this will get questions. Simple. So this is what we'll do here. Ye kya hai? What is this? Business economics. What is business economics? What is economic crisis? Why does crisis happen? What is the meaning of business cycle? What is the connection between business cycle and fiscal policy? What is the meaning of Atmanirbhar Bharat package? So for example, ye dekh rahe ho aap, business economics. So I'll give an example to you. So let's say this is called as business cycle. This is business cycle, which I'll teach you in the class. Now, so what is happening to India? Now India is in this portion of business cycle, thoda down. What is Atmanirbhar Bharat? I will teach you Atmanirbhar Bharat package in the class using the business cycle. What if I tell you now only, to give you a surprise, that it's so easy that, see this portion, anything which is down, that means it is making the economy little negative. Tabhi to it is down, no? If this is zero line means that anything below this is making us negative. So whenever economy is here, very down, we want to bring the economy above this zero line. We want to make the economy look good in terms of employment, jobs, GDP. But is it really possible to make a jump from here to here? We don't have that much money and resources. It's not possible. So what did we do? We launched Atmanirbhar Bharat so that this line shifted here. This is Atmanirbhar Bharat, A and B. Done. That's it. And then I can tell you the formula, I will tell you the components, and then we can do an analysis that what is this gap called as? How much is the value of this gap? That's actually Atmanirbhar Bharat. So it's not difficult to understand these things. It's just that you should know the basic thing. And let me tell you this, a lot of people do ask me this question, that after economics, how can MBA help? Yeah, it helped me because of these things. So where I did my MBA, I learned quite a lot. The gaps were filled, whatever was missing from the business and the corporate sector, etc. So, you know, the balance sheets and everything. So that gap was closed. So after that, what has happened is when I look at the same news now, I look at it from two perspectives. One is how the companies are behaving, how the manufacturing sector is doing, service sector is doing, and one, how the government policymakers are behaving. So now it helps to get the two perspectives. And in this program, I'll try my best to bring both the perspectives in front of you. Whatever little I can, I'll definitely try to bring it. Like this case. If you look at from government perspective, this is Atmanirbhar Bharat. If you look at from corporate perspective, the MBA kind of thing, then this is your graph. This is how you integrate both the knowledge. And if you draw this graph in answering the question, I think you will get very good marks in the exam. And miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is something which I prepare every year. The reason being that I teach current affairs also in Vajiram. So in miscellaneous, what happens is when you do a lot of current affairs, you start to get an idea that, okay, what is the most important thing which is coming every day in the newspaper? So I told you that we are not God, we don't understand everything. But when you read newspaper regularly, 3-4 newspapers, when you take a current affairs course also, then what happens is your mind runs in various directions that, aha, this thing is repeated by the government. This is something where government is putting more focus. Then you start to visualize the thing, okay, this is important. And that experience then you bring in the class. So this is called miscellaneous because that will come straight out of my experience of taking various programs, including current affairs or module or GS, wherever I feel something interesting is there which the government is doing. And according to me, I feel it will come in the exam. Definitely then I will bring that part. So this is our secret weapon, which we are going to use, which will help us to crack the exam. So this is largely the syllabus which I'm going to follow. Obviously, I have put some stars if you can see. Stars means inside this part, there will be multiple things. So it is not as simple as you see, but largely this is what I'm going to do with you. But then I told you that wherever possible, we'll integrate polity also. Polity, constitution, other subjects, wherever it is required, we'll do it that way. That is another thing. Now, let me show you what we are going to actually follow in terms of books. Here, favorite NCERTs. I showed you the diagram today, demand and supply. So the first thing that we are going to do in the class is this, demand supply kind of thing, basic thing from NCERT. These 3 NCERTs we will do in the class, but in my style. We will not copy NCERT because NCERT was never written up. Where is it written that Indian Economic Development for UPSC? Where is it written? So what I'm saying is we have to make NCERT usable for us. through the example which I gave you, that demand supply diagram. वैसे करके ना we have to integrate NCERT in our analysis. So I will follow only 4 texts, majorly these 3, plus my own material, which I have written, my own books, etc., which I am going to follow in the class. Other than this, I will follow some original sources. For example, let's say EPW. Because I read it, I find something interesting, I'll bring it in the class. Some new research which is happening. For example, Dr. Rajan wrote a great article recently related to banking or related to US economy. He just wrote an article. So if I feel that that article is relevant for our banking because he wrote it for US and US India, globalization connected, I will definitely take points from there and tell you in the class that this has been written by Dr. Rajan in this research paper, we'll quote it. So anything which I feel goes beyond this, I'll bring it in the class. So which means that you do not need to follow anything outside class. In the class, you will get 2 things from me. One is handout and one is dictation. Any third thing you don't need to do. So whatever I have written here, from this, you don't need to bring anything because all the thing will be assimilated and converted into either dictations or handouts. No other material should be referred to. This is what I can promise you. You don't require anything. And you have to trust so as to cut down upon unnecessary resources. Okay? So that is something which we'll do in the class. Now, what is the strategy? Kaise padhte hain? How do we study? Aise. We study like this. So what we do in the class is, for example, what is the lecture design? How do we study any topic? I'll give an example to you. So let's say the day I have to teach you MSP, as I told you, one example, minimum support price. First, we'll do absolute basic. I'll give you absolute basic things. For example, let's say why we need to support our farmers. What is the problem faced by farmers in India? Basic stories, basic things which are required to build a concept without any formula, without giving any technicalities. Absolute basic. That I am a farmer, I'm working very hard. I'll show you some pictures from Karnataka, Andhra, UP, Punjab, and I'll show you how when the farmers produce a lot of crops, they end up getting low price. That is called as farmer's dilemma. When they work very hard, they get very low price because they don't have storage facilities. These kind of stories I'll show you here, real life examples and newspaper. Then we will come to technical concepts. For example, that graph, demand supply, and that line, the MSP line which I showed you. Then we come here. And then whatever is the current development in India, which crops are covered, what is the MSP trend, then we'll do it here. Then we'll do a debate that MSP should be legalized or not. So which means this is how we will do every lecture. Acha, when I'm giving you stories, simple stories in the class, now what happens is if you do not do MCQs after the story will not be there in the mind. So the moment we do a story, we'll do MCQ. The moment we do this technical thing, we'll do MCQ. And the moment we complete this current development, then we do MCQ and answer writing. Answer writing will be a part of every topic. Without answer writing, there is nothing called economics module. In economy module, answer writing is like the soul of the program. It has to be there. That is why you will see that if you just come for economy can be taught in, I think, maybe 70 lectures, 60 lectures, something like that. But the moment you bring agriculture, the moment you bring answer writing, the moment you bring MCQ, current affairs, then the value addition will increase the number of lectures. So typically when people say an economy module, they only talk about economy. But I believe that if you go to a place and learn economy and come out of it, that's not a good idea. You learned, great. But did you learn to apply economy and agriculture together? Did you learn to apply whatever you learned in the class in the MCQs and the answer writing? That's the main thing actually. If you don't do that in the class, where else will you do that? That is the point. So I believe that that is the reason that at every stage we will do MCQ and mains answer writing. What is this? These are the things that we are going to do in the class. One is handout. One is class notes. I'll tell you something about class notes. I give exhaustive class notes, which means that, example, if I'm giving you class notes on MSP, the class notes will have basics from here. Whatever story part is required to be written, I'll dictate that. Then comes the diagrams, why demand supply diagram, that will be there, and the current affairs will be there, followed by standard question answer writing techniques from my side. So I'll give you techniques and I'll ask you to write in the class. I'll tell you, chalo, let's write a question on define MSP. Is it relevant for India? What is WTO's objection against it? That answer we will write in the class. And I will ask you guys to read your answer and I will give you feedbacks that how good is your answer or your answer is not good. These kind of things we do in the class. And at the end of, so which means that if you make notes on MSP, it will not only have definition, it will have entire current affairs as well as MCQs and mains answer writing. So before your mains, if you open your notes, you do not need to add too much. Why will you add too much? Current affairs has to be updated regularly. But do you believe in a big country like India, entire subject will change? No. 23 crops will become 21 or 23 will become 24. That is what will happen. But it will not happen that entire list of crop will change. So that is why whatever notes we make in the class, the biggest problem in the economics preparation is normally when you go to people and ask what to study from MSP, either they will tell you how to prepare for prelims, only prelims oriented, or you will see current affairs is missing, or you will see integration is missing, no mention of DPSP or fundamental right in MSP, because MSP is what? For livelihood. And you understand which are the articles of the constitution which talks about livelihood. The moment you talk about livelihood, you have to talk about article 39, you have to talk about article 21. These articles must be mentioned. If you don't write, what is the meaning? So these kind of things we will do in the class. So notes will be exhaustive, but to the point. Unnecessary things not there. So this is what we want to do. Answer writing, MCQs, and PYQs will be integrated in the lecture. What about PYQs? There are some PYQs which have become irrelevant. For example, those concepts no more exist. Like old definition of MSME changed. Now there is new definition. So any question which was asked in UPSC earlier in PYQ, which is not relevant, why to do it? But if it is relevant, we will do it. So all the relevant PYQs, I can assure you this, in all my previous batches of module, if you open the notes, you will see all the relevant PYQs, mains and prelims covered in the class. Everything is covered in the class. So do you need to bring any material or books? I don't think so, and I don't prefer it. What is this? This is a fact book. So for example, what you need to do is you need to buy a small notebook, chotu sa, small, which you can hold in your hand, handy. And in the notebook, what we do is, for example, this I call as fact book. Suppose today I'm teaching you agriculture. So what I'll do is I'll ask you to open that fact book in the class, and whatever current affairs data or fact or report, whatever is there till that day in that subject, which is agriculture, we will write it in our fact book. So that when we are appearing in the prelims, data should be ready. When we are appearing in the mains, facts should be ready. So you will have a huge compilation of almost literally everything which is required for GS Paper 3, economy part, agriculture part, etc. from UPSC, which you can replicate in your exam by just flipping through the pages of fact book. So let's say you buy a small notebook. The first 10 pages or 5 pages you dedicate to agriculture related fact. Next 5 pages environment. Next 5-6 pages GDP. Aise karke we can do that. So that is why this fact book you have to carry every day in the class. This we will do. Okay? So how will you know that somebody is in the module batch and somebody is directly learning economics from me in my batches? You will always see a fact book in their hand and you will know that, okay, something is going on, right? So you always carry that. So this saves our time. Now, I won't waste your time, so I'll directly come to 2-3 questions which I want to show you. Jaise ye dekho. This is what we'll do in the class, I already told you. But I want to show you 2-3 things which will help you to understand what are the sources that need to be prepared in the exam. This is UPSC 2026 question. So let's read. And let's see the sources. It will help us to get some perspective. What is written? Economic Survey 2026. Why India is betting on AI small language models over LLMs. So was it given in the Economic Survey? Of course, yes. January 29, 2026 news. So was there a chapter given in Economic Survey on LLMs? 100% yes. It was a 30-page chapter. It was given in the Economic Survey. And there you go. UPSC prelims question. So I have heard there are people who say that Economic Survey and budget is not asked. But that is not correct. This is Economic Survey. Let me show you one more. Read this. It says, which among the following are objectives of rain-fed area development initiative? So this question has also been asked in UPSC 2026 prelims. It is from agriculture. This is the PPT of the class which we took on Economic Survey and Budget. Rain-fed area development. And this is direct snapshot of that. What is written? Integrated farming system, crop diversification, soil health, and AH means animal husbandry. And if you read the option, you will see all those options here. Which means this was directly from economic survey. So I'm not trying to show you that I did it. I don't write economic survey. Anybody who would have studied economic survey would have done that. So I am trying to defy the claim that questions from survey and budget are not asked. That is incorrect. And the proof is this is from economic survey because I taught this directly from survey. It's a survey class ka snapshot. And that question is from economic survey 2026 UPSC. I could trace at least 4 questions directly from there. Directly from there. So which means you can also. So let's read this question. Consider the following statements about Rashtriya Gokul Mission. Directly given in last year's economic survey. So how many years of economic survey are we going to do in the module? 2 years. 2 years. One this year, one last year. This question is from UPSC 2025. This is 2026. I wanted to show this to you. So are questions coming from survey and budget? 100% yes. I can show you more, but why to waste your time? This is good enough to understand. Now, let's come back. Here, dekho, what is this? How hybrid type of questions are asked in UPSC. What is hybrid question? See this? So last year and this year, we were studying that the value of rupee is going down, depreciation is happening. Whole year we were studying this. And we were doing reasons for depreciation of rupee. What did UPSC do? UPSC went and asked a question, which is this, from history. Which means that if you are learning about, this is what I wanted to tell you. If you are learning about, let's say, the exchange rate, and if you are seeing that in the news it is coming constantly, good. You know what is the exchange rate today, what are the theories related to it. But then this is UPSC. You also study history. So if you are studying history and you already know from your classes, current affairs classes or economics classes, that see this rate of exchange is in news. And the moment in history you come across something related to that, like drain of wealth theory, exchange rate, something related to that, immediately your senses should tell you, your mind should tell you, hey, that can be important because I'm reading it in current affairs. So what happens is sometimes directly questions are not asked. But if you study your exchange rate well, if you understand rupee depreciation, appreciation well, and since history is also part of your syllabus, when you open that, you might see those things being reflected and you might see a connection. That is the reason I'm telling you that when we will study this economic subject, if anything is directly connected to polity, geography, whatever is there, we should try to bring it in the class and we should try to establish a connection. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand these kind of things. So yes, sometimes from current developments, direct questions are not asked, but indirectly questions are asked in related areas and related subjects. This also has to be kept in mind. Now, as I was telling you, come to mains part. Here, see, this is the part which decides your rank. See carefully. Let me increase the size. Isko padhiye. Let's read. I'm going to read it so that if you're not able to see, you can understand. What is the question in mains? It says the Gati Shakti Yojana needs meticulous coordination between government and private sector to achieve the goal of connectivity. So it is saying that Gati Shakti is an important program for India's infrastructure development and it requires coordination between government and private, public-private partnership. It says justify or explain. How many parts are there in the question? Only one part. You have to justify and explain. Look at this part. This question says the crucial aspect of development process has been inadequate attention paid to human resource development. So they are saying that we have been trying to, develop India a lot in terms of GDP, but human development through skill, capacity is not happening. Then it is saying suggest measures that can address this. So there are two parts. One is human development is not happening. You have to explain that. And second part, measures how to overcome. Two parts are there. Read this question. It says, what is the status of digitization in Indian economy? That's the first part. Examine the problem faced in this regard and suggest improvements. 3 parts. It is talking about digitization. For example, digital currency, digital rupee, UPI. It is saying, what is that? Then it is saying that examine the problem and suggest solution. 3 part. What are we trying to do? Ye dekhiye. This is how we will learn answer writing in the class. All these questions are 150 words question. All these questions are 10 marker. So earlier, the trend of UPSC was, in a 10 marker, they used to ask only one part in the question, that what is Gati Shakti. Now they have changed it. Now what are they asking? They are asking 2 parts. Currently, the trend is they are asking 3 parts. For example, the digitization part, as you can say here, 3 parts were asked. So what is UPSC trying to do? If you do simple answer writing like this, the problem will be that when you actually appear in the exam and you have not done sufficient practice related to multiple parts in the same question, then there will be stress. You will not be able to complete the answer on time. And you will not be able to write everything in limited number of words, which means this type of practice should be done in the class. Do we do this kind of practice? Yeah, we do. We do this practice in the class to make you equipped to handle these things. So my point is that, bacho, if you're not aware of these facts, that how the trend is changing, earlier one part, then two part, now three part, then what will happen is that in the previous method of preparation of UPSC, if somebody would have just studied, let's say, Gati Shakti, that person would have qualified the exam. Now the part is that when you study Gati Shakti, you have to see that what is the relevance of Gati Shakti, what are the merits and demerits of Gati Shakti, what is the connection of Gati Shakti with other programs like Make in India. We have to increase our dimension because questions are being asked. So now my point is, earlier, when you used to study for 1 hour and you completed infrastructure, you could have taken care of the question in the exam. Now the problem is, they will ask you 4 or 5 other parts attached to that same question. Time is same. You have just 9 to 10 months to prepare. And in the same time, you have to increase your efficiency. So that is what I feel is the biggest challenge of UPSC, that time has remained the same, dimensions have increased, depth has increased, expectation of UPSC has increased. So UPSC is not becoming easier, UPSC is becoming more engaging in the sense that the questions demand more from you. So how to prepare for these things? My funda is that whenever you prepare a topic, you also learn in the class to generate opinions, good, bad, critically evaluate. And how do you generate opinion? Through current affairs. So for example, when you read newspaper, you will see opinions generated by experts, the positive side, the negative side. When you have a base to discuss, then you can generate your own opinion also. I read this in the article, 2 points I have read, third point I can bring from my side, which means integration of current affairs or newspaper in the class is a must. So I cannot tell you that learn economics from me and learn newspaper from somebody else. That is not possible. So which means that economics and newspaper will go hand in hand. That is also one of the reasons that the class will be very engaging, which means that you cannot expect a class of half an hour and do everything in that, because huge quality compromise will happen and we do not want to do it. So I can assure you one thing, that till the time you are with me in the program, you do not need to study economics-based current affairs from anywhere else. No magazines required, nothing required. Newspaper, only reading is good enough. You don't need to make notes, because the moment you see something in the news, next day you will see it in the class in the form of dictations and learning and discussions. So that is one of the things that I feel we should be doing. Now, what I want to do with you is, and at the end I'll announce something more, which was not planned, but I will. So now what I want to do is I want to teach you for next half an hour inflation. I want to teach you, I want to give you an example of how ideally, because in half an hour inflation cannot be taught, you also know it. But in half an hour, I can give you an example of how to approach a topic, or rather how we will approach the topic in the class. So this I want to show you. So we'll start with current affairs, that what is coming in the newspaper, and then we will see how to approach, how UPSC can ask question. I will show you some facts. I will ask you to memorize right in front of me, and I will see if you are able to memorize or not. Okay, करके देखते हैं. Let us do. Let us take it as a challenge that something new is coming in front of you. Are you able to justify your presence in the class through productive participation? So give your best. Next half an hour, I'm going to discuss only inflation and ask you questions. And please participate, online and offline. So you know this is how the class will be. So it won't be a monologue. So see, guys, this is how we'll start every lecture. A typical lecture of the module starts like this. So for example, you see the newspaper clip. It says government unveils the CPI series covering more items and services with revised rates. Now, which month? February 12, 2026 is the news. Current affairs. Now let's see another one. Government to replace WPI with producer price index for future procurement contracts. Okay, date is July 17th, 2026. Oh, July 17th. Wow. It is as current as it can get. Then the next one, it is July 14th. The retail inflation hits 18-month high of 4.4%. Okay, 4.4%. which means that there is something called inflation targeting done by RBI, where RBI tries to maintain the inflation rate of around 4% in general, 4 plus minus 2, but in general 4. It has breached it. So what can be expected in the next Monetary Policy Committee meeting? The repo rate just might increase by a few points. Might. I'm not saying it will. This is how theoretically you should try to connect with things. Now let's come to another news. Ye dekho, this is PIB. PIB says press release, which date? 15th June 2026. It says press release of new series of wholesale price index and producer price index with base year 22-23. Okay, there is producer price index now. It is also coming. So something new India is going to do. So there are a lot of current affairs which has happened. Ab dekho, what will happen in the class is, the moment you come in the class, the first thing you'll get from me is this. For this year's module, I have designed numerous tables like this. So the moment you come in the class, the first thing that I'll deliver to you is this table. What is mentioned in the table, straight away to the point, because this is UPSC class. I told you, this is not a general class where we are discussing things without any objective and aim. No, there is a precise goal. We have to crack the exam. So since you have to crack the exam, being intellectual is great, being wise is superb, but exam knowledge is required first. Then everything can follow. So this is the table where you can see what have we done. Ye dekho, what you have done is we have written all the names of measures of inflation, whatever measures are used in India currently, and then we have written that who has compiled it. And then we have written that what is the base year. And then there is something new. For example, ye dekho, you can see that there is something new called producer price index. Which are the 3 producer price index which have been just introduced. I'm just trying to tell you how to study, how we will approach the things. So for example, output PPI, input PPI, service PPI. In service PPI, what are we including? These things written in the form of a note. I can assure you that if you appear in a typical UPSC kind of exam, there is a very high probability of at least one question being asked from here. This entire table is current affairs. And it contains current affairs of as recent as yesterday. Because look at the PPI wala part. From yesterday news, I picked it and I put it here. Which means that these are the kind of tables which I'll bring in the class. We will fill the table in the class, we'll memorize, and then we will understand each of these theories separately. Understanding part. How do we understand? Ye dekho, see. This is how we start the lecture. Example. So, bacho, for example, let's say that we are manufacturing this water bottle. Where? In this factory. Listen to it very carefully. Let me see, logically, if you can give me some answer. I told you that I'm throwing a challenge at you to see your participation, online and offline. This bottle is being manufactured in this factory. This bottle requires a packet, which is this plastic container. Then this water bottle also requires this sticker, which is there. It also requires some color. It also requires, main ingredient is water. And inside the water, they put some kind of, if they want to convert it into mineral water, they'll put some mineral. They'll inject some mineral over it. These are the raw materials. So plastic, the colored cap, the sticker, the water, and some minerals injected, they are the inputs. So now I want to ask you a question. Suppose inside this factory, inputs are coming. All the inputs like water, plastic, etc., they are reaching the factory here. The price of all the inputs taken together is rupees 10. All the inputs. Now the inputs go a transformation inside the factory. And now at the factory gate, the output comes, which is the water bottle. What is the price of the water bottle? For example, price of water bottle is 100. Example. So 10 rupees inputs become a 100 rupee ka bottle. Very elite. Why? Because there will be a big brand. There will be a picture of Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, etc. also. So automatically 10 rupees ka water bottle becomes 100 rupees ka water bottle. 10 rupees input, 100 rupees. Now what is India trying to do? India is trying to do something very interesting. India says that if I have to find out that what is the price level of these water bottles in the economy, now government of India says, first I should be going to that person who is selling inputs to the factory. So for example, suppose you buy this water bottle in a grocery store. And the price of this water bottle in the grocery store earlier used to be, earlier used to be, let's say, 150 rupees. Today they are charging 170 rupees in the grocery store. Where is the grocery store? Here. This is the grocery store. Because water bottle will travel from factory to wholesale market. From wholesale market in trucks, it will travel to grocery stores. In grocery store, people like you and I will buy the water bottle at 150 rupees per bottle. Now the question is, if you are the IS officer and Government of India has posted you under, let's say, MOSPI, or Government of India has appointed you as the governor or posted you in RBI or Ministry of Finance. Now Government of India is telling you that, beta, please tell me that what was the price of the water bottle earlier? You said government 150, now it is all of a sudden 170. So government is asking you, who should be punished? You are an IS officer, who should be punished? Immediately you will tell the government, sorry government, can't tell. We need to do the research. Government said, which research? So let me show you what India used to do. So what India used to do is, India used to come to this market. And India used to ask here, the wholesaler. Who are the wholesaler? The wholesalers are those people who sell huge amount of water bottles like this to the grocery store. They are the ones who stock the material. So government used to come to wholesaler and ask them, hey, what is the price that you used to charge? So wholesaler said, earlier I used to charge 120 rupees. Now also I am charging 120 rupees. I am not doing anything. You are an IS officer, you say, but how did that happen? Then you used to say, okay, this guy is the culprit. This person has become greedy. Earlier he was selling at 150, now he is selling at 170. Whereas this wholesaler was giving the water bottle to him at 120. Now also he is giving at 120. Earlier 120, now 120. But this guy has increased the price, this grocery. Means this grocery wala person has become greedy. Isn't it? So this increase in price from 150 to 70, you immediately reported to the government. Government, this is greedflation. Because somebody has become greedy. Okay, greedflation. New term, right? Same water bottle is being sold at a high price. Now, things have changed. Why? Because you know that the world is undergoing disruption. The supply of raw material is not very smooth. There are problems. You are an IS officer. What did you tell the government? You told the government, nah, don't judge like this. If the price of water bottle is very high there, please do not judge that only retail and the wholesale market is at fault. Let's go back to the factory and ask the factory wala people that, hello, Mr. Factory, can you please tell me, earlier what was the price of the inputs like water and plastic? They said 10. Then you told them that, acha, what is the output price? They said 100. Now you are asking that earlier it was 10, means till 2025 it was 10. Now in year 2026, it has become 12. What is the new input price now? 12. Earlier, what was the input price? 10. Now it has become 12. What is the percentage increase, bacho? 20%. Percentage increase in price, input price, 20%. How much do you believe that output price will increase? At least 20. Because input price is rising by 20. So this guy said, sir, my output now is 120 rupees. Can you really blame this guy? So if you try to tell that you are the one who increased the price, he will say, why? Why are you blaming me? Go and talk to input suppliers. What did I do? Which means, what are we doing? Are we measuring the level of prices or change in prices here at the wholesale level? No. What is this? This is not wholesale. This is producer. So when you measure the change in price at the level of production or factory or producer, it is called producer price index. But if I ask you, what is the producer price index here? How will you answer? Because production requires two things. One is input and one is output. Which means, if we have to talk about producer price index, you cannot blame this producer by saying, because of you the price increase. We have to look at input also. So this rise in price from 10 to 12, this 20% is called as input PPI, producer price index. And this rise in price, which is 100 to 120. Suppose this is not 120, it is 130. So this 30% rise in price is called as output PPI, because the change in the output. So now if you're a senior IS officer, and if you have to come to this factory and tell them that you, Mr. Factory, you have become very greedy. So factory says, what is the proof? Then you tell, beta, your input PPI is 20%, your output PPI is 30%. You are greedy, control. So this factory says, come on, give me an opportunity. You tell, no, inflation is happening, you control please. If you want to increase, make 100 as 120. Chalo, take 122, but not 130. This is the first level at which you will interact with the factory and tell them, please control. Will you directly stop them? No. But will you urge them? Yes. So are you seeing the utility of input PPI and output PPI? Why it is important? 100% it is important. That is why we are doing this, right? Now, this product now comes to wholesale market. The water bottle comes to wholesale market. How many water bottles? Multiple. And now wholesale market wala people will sell to retail. So earlier this guy used to sell the water bottles at 125 to him. Now he is selling at 150. So this increase in price from 125 to 150 is called WPI. Earlier, this guy was selling the water bottle at 150, now he's selling at 170. So this 20 rupees increase is called as CPI, Consumer Price Index. This is what I call as story. This is the basic. So if you learn basic in any other way, for example, instead of doing like this, if you write formulas in the beginning of the class only, the problem that will happen is you will not be able to connect with what theory you are learning and how to apply it in real life. This gives you the basic. So I want to ask you one thing. Is there anybody in the class with no knowledge of economics who will struggle to understand this story? I told you this story as a sample. This is not exactly the kind of story, but maybe the topic which I will take in the class in different lectures will decide the story. This is just one example. So even if you are not from economics background, does it make you really struggle? Of course not. You take a pen instead of water bottle and play the same story. That okay, a factory wala person, how will he make the pen? Through input. And if the input price is rising, it is called input PPI. Simple. There is nothing complex about it. That is why if UPSC will ask you the question, or anybody will ask you the question, that why is there a need for these two PPIs separately? Obviously, it is required. Otherwise, how will you know that whether the producer is to be blamed or not? That is why you need two. And why the government introduced service PPI? Because these days, there is a new concept which was given in the economic survey of last year called as servicification. This is the new concept. What is the meaning of servicification? The meaning of servicification is that service sector supports manufacturing. So if you are saying that some factory is producing water bottle, now who gives the data and the software support to the factory to run its machine? Service sector. Because software, AI, all those things, data analysis comes from services. So now what is happening these days is, you go to any manufacturing company in India or across the world, you will see that they depend a lot on services. Transportation service, financial services, consultancy services, all these HR services, they need a lot of services. Software services, AI services, smart factories. So now we are trying to say that is it happening in the economy that prices of water bottles are increasing not because of factories' own mistake, but because the software they are getting is very costly? Is it happening because of that? Or transportation is becoming very costly? If that is happening, that is called service PPI. So don't you believe that service has a bigger role to play in manufacturing? Yeah, that is why this concept called servicification. And who is the person who advocated this concept a lot in India? Professor Goldar. Professor Goldar. Professor Goldar has told the government in his research papers that government be mindful of servicification. Professor Goldar was quoted by the government in economic survey last year. And who is the person who gave the formula of producer price index to government of India? Professor Goldar. Professor Goldar. So Professor Goldar gave the formula to government of India that related to producer price index. This input PPI and output PPI, which I taught you basics, it was given by Professor Goldar. And servicification concept to the government of India that you should use it in Indian context, it has been advocated by Professor Goldar. UPSC prelims preparation done. How do you prepare for prelims? You know the name of the professor who gave the idea to the government, and this table helps you to prepare for prelims. This is typical prelims kind of information. How many types of PPI are there? Output and input PPI. And what is the base year and what is the source? This is how you prepare for prelims. Now, let's go back and let us see. I told you, there will be a challenge wala part. Now starts your little bit of challenge part. Look carefully. So I'm going to show you something very quickly. This is a box. Now, देखो, what will I do in this box? So, I am the government of India. I am giving you 100 rupees. each one of you online and offline, I'm giving 100 rupees and I'm asking you a question that if I give you 100 rupees to spend, and then I ask you the question that can you please tell me on an average, how much do you spend on food and beverage on an average? If I give you 100 rupees and I ask you that on an average, how much will you end up spending on food and beverage? How much will you spend on pan, tobacco, intoxicant? How much will you spend on clothing and footwear, housing, fuel, light, and miscellaneous? This is the question I will ask you. So suppose you told that, sir, if you give 100 rupees and I am in, let's say, rural India, I will invest, let's say, 45 rupees in food. I said, okay. Then I will ask you on PTI. Bataiye, challenging, conflicting question. How much will you spend in PTI? Remember, your parents are watching you. Oh, good. So be careful, especially online. So if I ask you how much will you spend, don't answer this. Some questions should never be answered. You should not even nod. You should say not applicable, right? So let's say 2.3 rupees. Not me, but generally people in India. Clothing and footwear. Clothing and footwear, let's say 6-7 rupees. Housing, if you are in urban India, you will say, my God, don't ask. Very costly. And if I ask you that you are in rural India, how much are you paying as rent? You will say, which rent? In rural India, we don't pay too much rent. It's like negligible. So, okay. Fuel and light, okay. Which means volatile. Miscellaneous means services. These are the things I will ask you. I ask how much will you pay rent? Your online friend is saying 32,000. I can understand your pain. Right. So we have all suffered that because I've been a student in various parts of India. So we have all seen it. So bacho, whatever money you will spend is called the weight. So let me show you. Then you will understand what we are talking about. This is what I asked you. I asked you that if I give you 100 rupees and you are in rural India, how much will you spend in these things? So this is your answer called as weight. In rural India, you did not take housing. I asked you in urban India, you said 36, 13, 1.3, 5.5. This is urban India. Now, if you take an average of these two, weighted average, you get entire India figure. That if you give this 100 rupees to a typical Indian, either in rural or urban, doesn't matter, typical Indian, then how much will be the money that this person will spend on food and beverage? 45, pan tobacco 2.3, aise karke, this is the figure we get. These are called weights. Now I want to ask you a question. Can you please tell me that how do you decide the weights when it comes to daily expenditure on goods and services? How is the weight or importance of those goods and services decided on which you spend money? Based on your income or based on your expenditure? How do you decide which is more important for you? What did I tell you? How did I decide? I gave you 100 rupees and I asked you how much out of this 100 you put on this. So is your income deciding the weight or expenditure is deciding the weight? I gave you 100 rupees and I asked you out of 100, how much are you putting on this? So is your income deciding this or your expenditure pattern deciding the weights? I gave you 100 and I asked you that how much will you put on these 6 items? You said nothing. You have income. 100 is there no in your hand, but you said I will not buy any of this. So is your income deciding it or expenditure deciding it? Expenditure. Income is there in your hand, but whether you will spend the money or not, that's up to you. So how much importance you are giving to something is decided by how much money you spend there out of your total income. Even if your income is 100 rupees, out of income, how much do you spend in something? That decides. Your expenditure decides the importance you are giving. Jaise bacho, after the class, every day you go and you have a plate of Maggi. And suppose that your daily pocket money that you get from your mom and dad is 100 rupees. Right? And every day you are buying Maggi. Maggi every day. And then I see that out of this, 80% is going in Maggi. 80%, mind you. So out of 100, how much? 80 rupees going in Maggi. My pocket money every day is 10 rupees. Out of that, I spend 8 rupees in Maggi. What is the percentage? 80. So I am also giving 80% of my income. You are giving 80% of your income. Both are giving 80% to Maggi. Both of us are giving equal weight to Maggi. So what is deciding the weight or importance of something? Our expenditure pattern here. Which means now, based on the story I told you, see, this was story. Now let's come to a technical point. So if I tell you which of the following criteria are used to decide the weight of something related to people's consumption, Income or expenditure percentage? That's your answer. This is how you learn the technical subjects. But if you try to see, if you try to look at a particular technical theory that according to which theory, etc., unnecessary wastage of time. There is no theory, it is derived from real life. So if I have to find out which is your favorite subject, what should I see? Number of books that you have now. How much time do you spend in a particular subject? You might be having 100 subjects, but suppose that you are spending a lot of time on polity. Polity is your favorite, right? Favorite matlab you want to make it a favorite, right? In that sense. So that is what I want to point out, that jaise if it would have been a normal class, because I have to show you, that's why I'm not doing it. There would have been a notebook that you would have, a separate notebook where I would have told you that let us write this theory now. And I would have dictated you one line that the expenditure pattern would decide the weights. This one line is done for prelims. Prelims prepared. Now come back. Now see this, guys. And from here starts your part where your memory will be tested. Now see, there is a box. See this? In this box, how many types of item did we select? 6 types of items. So 6 types of items are in the box. And what you are doing is, you are the government, you went to entire India and asked the people that on a normal basis, day-to-day basis, if you buy all these items, what is the price of this box? You are putting food also, you are putting clothes also, PTI also, transportation also, everything. And then you ask me that how much food you are buying? I said one packet of bread. You said put it here. Then you asked me that did you buy a cloth today? I said yes, I bought a shoe. I'll put the shoe here. Then you asked me that did you travel? I said yeah, metro ticket 50 rupees. I said put it here. Aise karke all the things related to these 6 categories you put here. And then you asked me that now you, mister, what is the price of this box? I said price of this box. And which year? 2012. You are asking this question to me in 2012. We are going like 14 years back. So I said price of the box 100 rupees. But your example, it necessarily should not be 100. This is just an example to learn the theory. You said 100. I said, oh, cool. But you are spending 100 rupees. Now, I want to ask a question. In 2012, when you bought this box, you paid 100 rupees. Same box, if you carry in 2026, chalo, let's carry the same box in 2026. 2026, this year, same items. What is the price of the box? And then we come to know it is 120 rupees. Oh, wow. 120 rupees. Same box. So, what is this jump in the price of the same box? Dekho, this box was 100. Size of the box increased. The price increased. So what is the percentage jump, bacho? 20%. What is this called as? Consumer Price Index, CPI. So your CPI, 20%. What is the other name of this? Other name of this is also called as headline inflation. What is another name of this? All India CPI. What is another name of this? CPI rural plus urban. What is another name of this? CPI combined. CPI combined. What is the formula of calculating this? You tell me the formula. I told you I'll test you. So can you please tell me how did we get this 20%? So can you please tell me what did we write in the numerator? Something minus something. What did we subtract? 120 minus 100 upon 100 into 100. Please calculate. See if you are getting 20%. Are we getting 20%? Of course, yes. So can you tell me what is the name of this? Current year price or 2012 price? Current year price, which means the formula becomes CYP, current year price. This is 100. Anything which you take as reference, either it's called reference year or it is called base year. So what are we going to write here? 100 is BYP, base year price. Upon this 100 and this 100 are same. Upon what? Current year price or base year price? Base year price. Base year price into 100. And this is called CPI percentage. That's your formula. I told you, every formula that we study, we derive in the class. This will take time. There are 2 ways of learning, as I always tell you. Another way of learning could have been, there is no need to do all this. Come in the class, give 2 lines of definition of CPI, give a formula, write this, and go ahead to the next one. disaster. Because that doesn't help us to answer questions in exam. It doesn't develop the intellect. It doesn't help us to understand the depth of the subject which is required by UPSC. You can save 10 minutes in that. But do you believe that that 10 minutes is worth saving? Or do you believe your participation should never be curtailed? I do not feel it should be curtailed. Let people judge. Let people tell you that, what are you learning? Do you believe it is out of syllabus? It is inside your syllabus. The only thing we are doing is we are deriving it just to make sure that we never forget. That's called CPI. That's called headline CPI. Why headline? What is the meaning of headline? Every word has to be learned, bacho. I'll tell you the reason. So the meaning of headline is whenever you ask people that if I give you 100 rupees, how much will you spend in these 6 items? And then people told you this. Now, when people gave you the answer, when you created this box, you should have taken everything that people told you. But suppose you leave something. You leave, let's say, housing. And you told, housing I'm not going to, I don't like it. Remove housing. The moment you remove something, then that is not called headline. Then you have to give a different name to it. For example, if you remove food and fuel from this, why will you remove food and fuel? Because food and fuel are volatile. So these are the things, for example, from this box, if I remove food, if I remove fuel, why will I remove food and fuel from the box? Because I know that if I ask people how much do you spend on food and fuel, sometimes fuel prices are high, food price is high. Then automatically I will get very absurd answer. People will say, bhai, fuel mein to I spend a lot of money, food I spend a lot of money. So if I don't want to bring volatility, I want to see only those things which are more stable in nature. So when I take this data from the public, I will remove food and fuel. That means my box size will not be normal. My box size will be chotu. That box is called core inflation. But what is the meaning of headline inflation? When you take all the answers of public, whatever public said, you have to bring it. You can't remove anything. That's called headline. So difference between headline and core is, if you take this entire box and all the data that public said, when you do not exclude anything, that is called headline. And the moment you exclude something, then you have to give a new name like core or something else. But what is the meaning of headline? Headline is when you take all the items that people have given in the answer without excluding anything. That is called headline. That is the reason that the name is headline. So in future, if I ask you that, can you tell me what is headline WPI, wholesale price index, what will you tell me? That what have I taken in the box? Everything that is sold in the wholesale market which is relevant, or by excluding something? Everything or excluding? Everything. That is the formula. So if somebody will ask you what is headline, simply say, when you take the entire data that you have got without excluding anything, that is called headline. And the moment you exclude, it will have new name like core. This is how you study things. That is another example. Now let's come back. So what did I tell you? I told you that these are the 6 items that are taken up. So I have to ask a question to you. Why only 6 items? I told you every word has to be studied. Why only 6 items? Why not 7 items? That means somebody would have told us this. That India, why should you take 6 items, right? Who told us to take only these 6 items? Name of the agency is this. UN. UN has a system called Classification of Individual Consumption According to Purpose, COI-COP. This is the system developed by UN where UN tells to all the countries of the world, and this system was developed in 1999, that if any country wants to measure CPI, Consumer Price Index, they should take these 6 categories. And they should ask the public that if you are spending 100 rupees, how much are you spending out of 100 in these 6 items? Who told this to us? It was told to us by COI-COP 1999 framework. That is why India took this. Now, look carefully. So in this 6 categories that you are taking, which is food and beverage, clothes, pan, tobacco, housing, fuel and light, how many goods have been taken? Number of goods. These are the categories. For example, if you take clothes, food is of multiple types. Clothes are of multiple types. How many goods and how many services and how many total items are there? These are categories. Inside every category, there is item. How many total items are there? 299. So in this box which I showed you, this box, 299 items. How many goods? 259. How many services? 40. What are some of the absurd things which are there? DVD and CD. Yeah, DVD, CD, floppy disk, landline phone, all these things are there in the box. Why? Because this box was created in 2012. And how did the government of India get to know that how much money people are spending on food and beverage, that average money people are spending? Government of India did survey in 1,181 rural market and 1,114 urban market. These two markets were surveyed. Government went to the market and started asking people, hey, how much will you spend if I give you 100? Average figures were taken. That, okay, if I give you 100, you will spend, for example, on an average 40 rupees here, 2 rupees here, 6 rupees here, as they were, it was found. So how many markets were surveyed? This market. 1181 rural, 1114, 1114 urban. Now, this one I told you that if you compare this price, 100 rupees, with 2026 price, it will give you inflation. But there is a problem. What is the problem? Where is online market? Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy, Zomato, where is that? It is not surveyed. That's wrong then. Number two, why such less number of markets? That is incorrect. And they are saying only these are the items which people are consuming. Where is IT? Where is IT? Where is software? Where are those things that we are spending these days? People are doing interior in the house. And what is this house? This house means rent. Do we only pay rent in the house? No. After every monsoon, we repair also, especially you are in Gurgaon, Noida, etc. Mumbai, Delhi. So much of money goes in repair. So, and earlier they used to only ask people, hey, how much rent are you paying? Now government is saying, no, I cannot ask only rent, because rent is one component. Then comes repair and maintenance. And then comes water supply, electricity. Where is that? Look at your electricity bill and water bill. That is also to be added. So earlier government was taking only rent. Now government is saying, no. Now we'll take rent plus repair plus other things, utilities. Three things together will be called as housing now. And then the government said, oh, in this list, floppy disk, DVD, CD was taken. Now it's out. So some old things removed, some new things to be brought in. And instead of only going to rural and urban market, we should go to rural, urban and online market. And we should change this system. So has the system been changed? Yeah, it has changed. So let me show you how it has changed. Here, see, bacho. Now what has happened is, this is how it has changed. See? Earlier, what were we following? We were following COI, COP 1999. Now we are following COI, COP 2018. And what does COI, COP 2018 tells us? It tells us that this system is outdated, where you took 6 groups, remove it, and replace it with a system where now you have to take 12 type of items, 12 divisions. Is there in your handout? I'll show you. So instead of 6 types of items, now we give 100 rupees to people and ask them that if we give you 100 rupees, how much will you spend on these 12 type of items? So instead of 6, now box has increased. How many goods? 308. Earlier, how many goods? 259. Memorize this, bacho. Earlier, how many services? 40. Now, how many services? 50. This is what you have to memorize. Data. Now, what have we done? Old things removed, new things brought in. So let's look at those 12 things. How do the 12 things look like? They look like this. See? So for example, these are 12. Is there in your handout, by the way? Is there? You can see that. Which page? Page 3. Page number 3. Thank you. You can check. So which are the items which are there, bacho? See all the 12 items. Food and beverage, pan, tobacco, clothing, housing, furnishing, health, transport, information technology, recreation, education, then restaurant, and then personal care. According to which division are we using? COI, COP 2018. We have changed it now. Now the interesting part. So what will happen is, now what we'll do is, we'll take this box, and we'll ask a question to public. That hey, public, this here. If we give you 100 rupees, out of 100 rupees, how much are you going to spend on all these items? That will be the weight. So earlier we were giving 6 items and people were spending 100 rupees there. Now we are giving 100 rupees and giving them 12 items and we are asking where will you spend the money? So now see the response of the public. The response of the public is like this. See. So if you ask public that how much are you spending out of 100 on food and beverage? That's your answer. How much is the public spending on pan tobacco? That's the answer. CPI 2024, which is what are we doing? We are not looking at 2012 figure. Now we are going to 2024 and asking public that in the year 2024, if we would have given 100 rupees to public, how much was the public spending on these 12 items? So we have changed our base year from 2012 and made 2024 as reference year. Why? Because in 2012, some old items were used, but in 2024, world has changed. So now we are asking about new things that people are using. So now we are not comparing 2012 and 2026. This is gone. Now we are comparing 2024 with 2026. Base year has changed. And the moment you shift 2012 to 2024, floppy disk, DVD, CD gone. And new things like tablet will enter. Because in 2024, people are using that. So let's go back and let's see. As I told you that you'll have to memorize a few things. Here, look at this, please. Your first task. First, let me just talk about it in 2 minutes. Look carefully. So for example, if you look at this table, please give an answer, online and offline. If you look at this table, please tell me CPI 2024, which means if you would give 100 rupees to public in the year 2024 and ask them, how much are you going to spend in food and beverage? What is the answer? 36.75. All of us agree? Great. Can you please tell me that how much public is spending in PTI, pan tobacco intoxicant 2024? 2.98. How much people are spending in clothing and footwear in 2024? 6.3. Now, in UPSC, if they will tell you in UPSC mains that discuss the new CPI box called as All India CPI consumption box. So if you have to discuss the entire box, for example, do you believe it's easy to memorize this whole thing? Little difficult, little tricky. Is there a jugaad? Yeah, there is a jugaad. In your handout, you just keep looking at this table. I'm going to give you one question and please solve by looking at the table in your handout. This is the question. So can you please tell me what will you fill here? Take out your mobile phone and tell me that based on 2024 base year, you just gave the answer that CPI 2024, how much importance people are giving to food and beverage. You gave the answer. What is the answer? 36.75 is the correct answer. How much people are giving importance to PTI, pan tobacco? 2.98. Clothing and footwear? 3.8. Can you please tell me how much importance people are giving to housing? Look carefully. What did I tell you? What is housing now? Look carefully. You have to add something. Add, please. Add. Housing. I gave you the formula of housing. Housing is equal to rent plus repair plus utilities. For example, see, number 4. Housing means housing, water, electricity, gas, this part, and maintenance. So housing is different now. So please add these two. 17.6 plus 4.46. 22.6. That's your answer. Now, the sum total of all this should be 100. Sum is 100 only. 100 rupees is given to public. Only one entry is left, which is service and miscellaneous. So let's go back and let's see that where is service and miscellaneous. Look carefully. So after this starts health services, transport services, IT services, recreation, education, blah, blah, all this, add all this. Please add from here to here, all this. 31.74, which means 31.74. What is this? This is the weight of service and miscellaneous. What have we done? We have converted that big table, which was so difficult to memorize, into a small table. This can be used in UPSC mains. Because in UPSC mains, you will have to write everything in one side or two sides of the page. Unless you have memorized the entire table, people will tell you, oh, you have not memorized the table, you can't get marks in the exam. That is absolutely wrong. I can still get marks in the exam. I will draw this table and then I will write housing is equal to, I'll play smart in the exam. I will write housing is equal to rent plus repair and maintenance plus other utilities like water supply and electricity. Just below the table, I will write this. An examiner will say, oh, wow, you know this, great, good. And then I will write services and miscellaneous includes, I'll give some examples. IT service, recreation, health services, entertainment services, all these services, some examples I will give. And I will say, that's my new table. So is there a way to make complex things simple? Yeah, this is the way. So now, what are we doing? We are doing something smart. In the previous case, there were 6 items. In those items, the first 3 were same. And the 4th one was housing there. Now housing has a new thing, new formula. So we will not call it housing. We will call it housing index. Index means more components are there. We just need to make one change. Call it housing index. So if UPSC will tell you compare the previous formula of CPI with the new formula, what have we done? We have converted the new one also like previous one. And below the table, we'll write the new components and we'll tell UPSC now compare. Easy? 100% easy. But if you don't do it like this, how will you compare? Comparison becomes next to impossible. I'll show you the comparison. If you don't do it like this, then what kind of headache will happen? See this? Compare. Difficult. But if you convert this whole table into the way I told you, then you can do a comparison and say, hey, things are different. That's one type of comparison, where you try to convert this into something which is similar to the old one. Then you can do one-to-one comparison. There is another thing. Who gave this picture? This table has been given by Government of India. If you look at the picture of the Government of India, this table, it looks so complex. What have they done? They have given 12, 24, 24, 12. What are they doing? Mind-boggling. I'm not able to understand. What are they doing? I'll tell you. So, Bachu, I want to ask you a question. Government of India is saying that if I give 100 rupees to public now, listen to it carefully. If I give 100 rupees to public now means 2024, how much out of 100 people will spend in those 12 items? The answer is hidden here. Yeah, this part. But if I give the same 100 rupees to the public, in which year? 2012. So 2012, the public who was in 2012, I'll tell them, can you please come to 2024? So public of 2012, they had some earning. With same earning, same attitude, will bring them in 2024 through a time machine. So suppose that I am in 2012, you are the Gen Zs, you are in 2024. So through time machine, you bring me to your level and you tell me, come, let's go and see. So when I'm in your world in 2020, my mentality is 2012. Then you give me 100 rupees and ask me, so Mr. Stone Age person, 2012 wala person, can you please tell us, if we give you 100 rupees, Stone Age, if we give you 100 rupees with same mentality, how much out of this 100 will you spend in these 12 items? I say, oh, you are asking me that 2012 wala taste and preference. And I am habituated of spending a lot of money on food. So if you ask me that in 2024, how much will you spend? Then I'll give you the answer that, okay, I'll spend this much. That answer is this answer, this column. So when you bring the 2012 old people in the new era, give them 100 and ask them, now how much will you spend? My taste and preference will be the same. No, attitude will be same. So then I will spend 42 rupees. Because earlier I used to see, how much people used to spend on food? 45. But attitude was spent more in food. Same attitude I carry here also. 42. Little bit less. Because there are other items also. So 42. But if I ask you guys, the Gen Zs, how much will you spend on food? You will say, how much? 36 just to survive. And I'll ask you, where will you spend the rest of the money? You'll say, mobile phone, tablets, making reels, buying a camera or light. Those things. Like going on a trip. So which means that if you bring the old people like us in the new era and tell us how much will you spend, I'll say food is important. And when same question is asked to the new era people like you, what is important? You will say food is important for survival, but technology is important for existence. I said, wow. You are going to spend more money in IT, tablets, laptops, and mobile phone. See the answer? So what is the government doing? Government is saying, Bacho, listen to it carefully. Government says, you cannot directly compare 2024 with 2012. Can't compare. Attitude was different. If you want to compare 2024, which means new guys, you are the new guys. If you want to compare yourself with me, what is the thing you will have to do? You will have to bring a list of 12 items. And then you have to ask the new guys that how much will you spend? That is this answer. Then same 12 items should be given to me, the old guy. And then you ask me the question, you old guy, how much will you spend on these 12 items? I'll say this much. Now you can compare. So can we say that this is a comparison between the 2024 basket and 2012 taste and preferences brought in 2024? Can we say that? That we have brought 2012 in the modern times, then we are comparing. This will give you a comparison. Same thing we have done in rural area, same thing in urban India. So can you compare 24 and 12 just like that? Kaise karoge? How will you compare? Because the components are different. This is 6, this is 12. This is housing index. How will you compare? You cannot compare housing with housing index, because what is the meaning of housing there? The meaning of housing here is only rent. And what is the meaning of housing index? Rent plus repair and maintenance plus utility. How can you compare? You cannot compare. For that, you know what we need to do? We need to bring this guy in 2024 and ask him, sir, from 2012, if you come to 24, how much will you spend on rent? How much will you spend on repair? And how much utility? Then you can compare. And where is that answer? That answer is here. See, 17.6 plus 4 is the new guys, you guys, the Gen Zs. And how much is the older guy spending? This much money, 19. So who is spending more money on interiors? You. Yeah, 2024 guys, the Gen Zs, right? The CJP. And how much I am spending? Only 19. Right? So only 19. Old guys, 19. We are not after too much decoration, but for you, decor is important. Look and feel is important, right? So that's the difference. So are you able to understand? Dekho, if I would have taught you using a formula and expression and X, Y, Z, etc., I think directly studying formula is not a good thing. This is what I call a story. I gave you an example that if you bring an old guy like me in your era and ask me how much will you spend, these are the figures. This is how we will study it in the first stage. In the second stage, then I'll give you a list and like this, and I'll tell you that, see, why you cannot compare these two. Because here it is housing, here it is housing index, can't be compared. This is technical. Then I will give you a dictation. And then I will give you that currently what is the housing index here and here. So 10% and roughly around 21%. Then I'll give you some current affairs, that recently what is the price in housing. And then it's done. That is the way to study. So you have done till now. Can you fill a table, which is a challenge actually? So please bring out a table, which I have given in your handout. And this is what I wanted to do today with you to close the lecture. Page number 4. Page number 4 of your handout, online and offline. Your online friends also told me when I told them that there is a challenge, they said, we are ready for the challenge. So now, online and offline, the challenge continues. Please fill the table using the information that I gave you and whatever we have learned so far. This table is there. And I will show you something interesting. Table, page number 4. What is written? Let me show. This is the table. This is the table. So for example, first entry. Look at the first entry, please. Tell me what is the answer. Base year 2012, because its name is CPI 2012 series. What is the new base year? 2024. What is the implication? This is what UPSC asks. Are you able to see what is important here? In the class, normally what do? We study current base year 2024, old base year 2012, class over. UPSC says, oh wow, good. Great. Implication. There starts UPSC then. And UPSC, ye batao, what is the implication? Okay, I'll tell you the implication. You come to this part first. Data source for weights. What was the data source earlier? Rural, urban, and you knew that how many items were there? Total 290. But I'm asking about data source, rural and urban market. What is the data source now? Rural, urban, and online. Online. Like Amazon, Flipkart, Zomato, Swiggy. Those things were not considered earlier because it was not there. But now online data is also collected. So government also asks, how much did you pay for a burger? Offline, online, rural and urban, then takes the average. So which means, what will you write here? Rural, urban and online. Now please fill all this, whatever you remember, then I'll show you the answer. Let me see if you are able to focus. Fill. This is how we'll conduct the class. Only one thing extra will be there in the class. After I teach everything, there will be dictation. So you will have your notes. So based on your memory, based on whatever you have learned online and offline, please try to fill. Are you able to fill a few things? Wonderful. Trying? Good. Online guys, are you trying? Good. So bacho, this CPI 2012, all the things that I have filled here is for prelims. This CPI 2024 for prelims. This column is mains. In mains, they will ask you that what are the implications of the new CPI series over the policy making in India. So then you will have to write each of the component of the new CPI series and you have to write the implication of each. Just for example, see this. Base year 2012-2024. What does it reflect? It reflects the current consumption pattern post-pandemic and digital growth. So it reflects that after pandemic, after COVID, what is the new consumption pattern that has emerged? If you look at the data source, what did I tell you? That Government of India goes to public and asks them, how much have you spent? What is the name of the survey which the government uses to ask this? Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. So what has the government done? In the Household Consumption Expenditure Survey, matlab government goes house to house and asks them, hey, what did you buy? How much did you pay? Earlier, it was done only in rural and urban India in offline mode. Now, government is saying that how much did you buy offline, how much did you buy online, both. Which means what will you write here? Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. Dekho, see? Here we will write data and source, Household Consumption Expenditure Survey 2004-5, very old. Currently, Household Consumption Expenditure Survey 2023-24, latest. And what will you write here? Here you will write only offline. Here you will write online plus offline. Both. We ask about consumption, both that. How much did you order through Swiggy, Zomato, everything. So what is the implication? It captures current expenditure pattern because online also included. So this is how you have to write the implication. So bacho, when you come in the class, see this. When you come in the class, this is what we will do in every lecture. In the banking, I'm planning to do the same thing with you. So for example, I'll give an example to you. So for example, here, what will I do? I'll write name of all the banks here. For example, here, we will write scheduled commercial banks, scheduled non-commercial banks, RRBs. Then I'll write payment bank, small finance bank, foreign banks, domestic banks, banks. What will I write here? Here I will write repo rate, reverse repo rate, SLR, CRR, risk-weighted assets, Basel norms. All these things will be written here. And then we will study this whole thing in the form of story. We'll write dictation, and then in the class I will give you a blank sheet. I'll tell you to fill it, and then I will give you my filled sheet. But this filled sheet is not directly given in the class. It is given only after you have tried your own. Then I will give you the filled sheet. So this will take time. So for example, in the class, if I come and I don't give you any classwork, I never give you anything to fill or write, it will be like a robotic class where no intellectual development, no wisdom, no understanding. It will be such an incomplete thing to do. So this in module, we cannot do that. Everybody has a style. So this is the way I teach. So yes, because your participation is primary for me, so it will take some time. Now, little bit of details. But you understood, no, largely how I will teach in the class. This is how I'll teach in the class. So some details of the program about this. So first thing that I'll do in the class, first thing that I'll do in the class is, we will keep it early morning 7:30. 7:30 every day, 4 days a week. 4 days a week we'll have a class, 7:30. Now, typically the class duration will be 3 hours, but in 3 hours, 2 hours will be teaching, half an hour will be question solving, and half an hour will be interaction, only interaction, which means that it's not only teaching, but along with teaching, interaction will always be a part of the class, where I will speak, you will ask your doubts, you will solve MCQs, I will ask you to write answer, I will listen to your answers. These things take time. So that is why in that duration, it is not only teaching, but it is interaction. It's a compulsory part of the class. We will have this class for almost near about 4 months. So 4 days a week I'll teach you for 4 months. Slowly we'll learn everything. Can we do this course in 2 months also? Yeah, possible. Don't do interaction, don't write answer, don't do MCQs, don't fill any sheets in the class. Come, let me speak, dictate, and class over. But do you really believe that it is justice and fairness in terms of learning? I do not think so. Even if somebody asks me, I cannot do this. So you please come in the class with a mindset that you are not coming here to finish the course. You are coming here to compete in the exam and qualify. If you come with a positive mindset that I will qualify, I have to get through, extremely positive mindset, and I'm coming in the class to learn so that I don't have to put efforts at home. If you come with this mindset, then I think that you are welcome in the class. Now, I've been blessed with those kind of students, almost 99.999%, who are very patient, who enjoy the course or the syllabus and the subject as much as I do. So the chemistry between me and my students have been amazing. I have amazing memories of all the batches. I remember them by face, and if I see them anywhere, I'll know they're my students. Online, if you write a mail to me, you are my student. Later on, you don't even need to tell me who you are. With your writing style only, I can catch, because we'll do so much of answer writing. So I know which mistakes you will make, which words you will write wrongly, your vocab and everything. So that is the kind of bond that we develop over a period of time. So I'm going to start this program from August, somewhere around August 10th, 7th or 10th. I'll tell you the reason that I'm doing it, because I'm coming up with one more program for which I'll do a workshop little later. This year, we are also starting, which was not planned till yesterday. Today only got finalized, got a permission from Vajiram. We are also coming up with one answer writing program. So that answer writing program, I'm going to hold a workshop related to that, only for answer writing for GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Not related to economics, but a general answer writing program. All the details I will share with you on, I think, around August 1st. August 1st or 2nd, I'm going to have a workshop for that, for answer writing for GS 1, 2, 3, 4. So because of that, what I'll do is we'll start the module in around the first week, or 7th to 10th of August we will start. And 1st of August or 2nd of August somewhere, I'll hold a workshop for answer writing, so that anybody who feels that GS 1, 2, 3, 4 is troubling you in terms of answer writing, because we have been getting a lot of requests from my former students that answer writing is a problem. So in GS3, I can do only GS3. I cannot teach you GS1 and 2 and ethics in an economics course. That would be unfair, and that would not be the correct thing to do. So that is the reason that I'm changing the date a little bit, 4-5 days here and there, because we will start both the programs separately. But about the answer writing program, today I won't speak much details. I'll bring all the details on August 1st. Today is the day for module, so I'll talk about module. But yes, the answer writing program is also coming. So you can expect the module around either 7th or 10th. Somewhere on a suitable day, we will start. And it will continue for around 4 months, 1 or 2 days extra here and there, based on the new current developments that will happen. Class will happen regularly. We do not take abrupt breaks, etc. You can ask all the former students. In fact, in between the course, when I feel that we have completed 50% of the syllabus, 50, then I'll give you a break for 4-5 days to gather everything, so that if you have any consolidated doubt which you are having or you're not understanding something, all of you online and offline can revert back to me and tell me that, hey, we have not understood this, or there is a problem. So then we can do that. Otherwise, there is no break. And this break system I started last year only. In the initial batches, I never used to take break. But then on the student request that half the course, we need some time to absorb, that you can take. I told you one of the good things that will happen is, but you have to finally decide, that we will put all the efforts in the class so that at home you don't have to sit and make notes. ये सब नहीं करना है. Whatever you are doing in the class is good enough. That is why the course is for around 4 months. And as I told you, the same course can be taught in 20 days also. But you can understand how much compromise will happen. That compromise we will never do. And thankfully, none of my students who have ever been a part ever wanted compromise. Nobody. 99.99% I can assure you, everybody wanted the same thing to qualify. So that is the agenda that we come here. Class timing will not change. 7:30 means 7:30. You cannot be late in the class. I will also not be late. Right. So, but they will tell me, okay, the class will start. No, class is not starting from tomorrow. The class will start from, as I told you, I'll inform you whether 7th or 10th. I will start the class from 7th or 10th. Either 7th of next month, August, or 10th of next month. Somewhere around that we will start the class. But around 10th we will start. So, Smart Current Affairs is a different program. Module is a different program. Oh, you are asking that. See, if you are in economics module, I will take care of the economics part and the current affairs related to economics. So for that, you don't need to go anywhere else. Your email ID, yes, I can definitely give you the email ID. I will put all the updates related to the classes on this Telegram, and this is the email ID. So, see, I don't change the timing because morning is the best time to learn and practice, and it puts you on a good schedule, because you will develop good discipline over a period of time. Trust me on this. Every morning, early morning, 7:30, when online and offline you come in the class, all of a sudden you will feel charged up, because you will learn something really conceptual and you will like it, because we'll do everything, static, current and all. So, Saurav, you write to me separately. I will definitely see what problems you are facing. I don't have academic background in economics, that's why I cannot know how effectively utilize the model. Definitely. If you don't have any academic background in economics, or you have no technical background also, that is the reason I started the class by telling you that even I did not have an academic background in economics, but ended up studying economics to the best of my interest. So I can assure you that the way we will carry on with each topic, you will never have a feeling in the class that you are learning some alien subject, that I can assure you. So yes, Sid, you can follow that. But in the class, I think, yeah, it can be managed. With other programs, it can be managed. The reason being that I'm taking the morning hours of your day, which means the rest of the day is for you to study other subjects. And I'm promising you, literally, that once you study a topic in the class, hardly you need to flip the pages at home sometimes, that's it. You never need to sit at home and say, chalo, let us study economics today. You don't need to. Class is sufficient for you. That is why the class is interactive. So the time that you spend in the class is the time that you save at home. And there is an equation which your seniors will tell you. Abhi nahi, ask your seniors. They will tell you that the time that you spend in class, time in class is inversely proportional to time at home. That's the formula. If you invest less time in the class by cutting short, the problem that will happen is more hours at home, more trouble at home. I do not think we should do that. So we should be spending little time in the class. Let's not be lazy. So, oh, very nice to see you. Good. Some of my old students from different batches, they are here. Very good to see you guys. So, and for other details, you can go to the portal and you will find everything there. Portal pe jaiye, you check on the portal and some description and everything is there, you can follow. NCRTs, class notes, yellow book, or if you are doing self-study, there is no problem. You can definitely do self-study, but make sure that you do it like this, the way we have done it in the class. Basics should be clear. Those tables should be clear. You should know what to study and what to leave. So that's the only thing, but I'm always in favor of self-study. If somebody is doing self-study, huge respect, and you should carry on with that. But if you feel that some subject is becoming a roadblock in your success, then you should not be very rigid. Then you should take help. But if you feel help is not needed, you should not force yourself. That is very unethical thing to do. So if you feel help is needed, then only take help. You don't go to a doctor just to say a hi. That, hello doctor, I have come here to say hi to you. Don't do that. You don't go to an advocate and a doctor to say hi to them. Be careful. With teachers, you can come and say hi to us. So if you are doing self-study, want to say a hi, most welcome. But if you feel something is so troubling that it's becoming a roadblock in your success or clearing the UPSC exam, take help. It's completely your choice. See, this is not Vajiram culture to force anybody. We will not force you. You take your decision. So I hope that you understood what we are going to do in the course, online and offline. So with your permission, we'll call the session off. But we are going to meet on either 1st of August or 2nd, we'll see, for the answer writing program that we are launching for GS 1, 2, 3, 4 basic, where our focus in the answer writing will be current affairs based answer writing actually. But details I will share with you later. And module we are going to start between 7th to 10th of August. We are going to start the first lecture of module and it will continue. 4 days in a week, like, yes, 4 days in a week. Praful, absolutely correct. I have one simple doubt. I'll come to you. I took the admission which was supposed to be starting from the birthday. They did not tell me. This class, well, it is starting tomorrow from now. No, RJ, the class will start from either 7th August or 10th August. We'll announce the date soon. That will be the first class. Okay? Today was the workshop where I was telling that how will we go about the subject, because I don't want to waste the real class timing doing everything. We will only stick to teaching when we start the lecture. Today was, let's call it workshop or orientation, where I wanted to inform you how we will take the roadmap. But when we start the class, only class. Yes, we'll upload it. Don't worry. So I'll come to you guys. So thank you so much, guys. All the best. And it was lovely meeting you, because we hold this module, I hold it only once a year. And this course is, economics is very dear to me. So when we start this program, we start this with full passion, and then we conclude it also mostly on time, maybe a few days here and there, that's it. So thank you so much. See you in the classroom then. All the best. Thank you.